Hoopsville, everybody. I'm your host, Dave McHugh, coming to you on a Tuesday, March 22nd. We have wrapped up the 2021-22 basketball season, and we have two brand new champs. Congratulations to the Hope women and Randolph-Macon men as they crowned champions this past weekend. If you got questions for us, you can tweet us at D3Hoopsville, hashtag Hoopsville. You can join us on Facebook, facebook.com/Hoopsville. Lots of ways you can get a hold of us. Hope you'll take full advantage of them throughout the show. You can also email us, hoopsville at d3sports.com. I believe I mentioned that one. And lots of other ways, so please take advantage of them. Chat with us. We look forward to hearing from you. Lots of ways, etc., etc. Don't be a stranger. How you doing? Great championships, to say the least. It was fun to be out in Fort Wayne, where we had the biggest crowd I think we've ever had for Division III basketball. Except for the Atlanta 2013 championship, but that's a little bit of a different scenario. But 4,900 paid to be at the games on Friday. 3,800 paid for the games on Saturday. I don't know if all of those numbers actually were in the building, just because it's like kind of like baseball. You pay versus gate, but that was what we were told, and it certainly was capacity out there, to say the least. Wabash brought fans, Elmer's brought fans, Randolph-Macon was there in force, and so was Marietta, obviously. Looked great. Didn't get to the women's, but the women's looked spectacular as well. Pat Coleman and Gordon Mann out there for the semis, Gordon there for the championship. Great job out there at Duquesne. Looked pretty good there. Looked pretty raucous as well on Thursday and Saturday. Women's games, pretty good, to be honest with you. Thursday, Hope had a 15-point lead at one point. 13-point lead, though, going into the fourth quarter. Trine came all the way back and tied it. They finally kind of showed up or figured things out or whatever it was, and gave Hope a bit of a game before Hope was able to advance. Whitewater and Amherst was a good battle back and forth, with Whitewater pulling it off in the end. And then you had your championship, and that was a game that looked pretty good for much of it before Hope finally pulled away near the end. In the last quarter of the game, they kind of put their foot down and made an exclamation point for the season. Of course, you could argue Hope has been in this situation, well, even 2020, when we lost everything. So culmination of a championship there for a program that's been kind of at the top for the entire tenure. And then on the men's side, Friday, the games were pretty interesting. Scores, I don't think, indicated just how hard fought they were. First one between Randolph-Macon and Marietta, a much expected and looked at and penciled in rematch. Got pretty good in the first half. Marietta came back, got within close, and then Randolph-Macon did what Randolph-Macon's done to everybody, put their foot down with their own run, and then just inched away from them in the second half. Nothing the Pioneers could do about it. In the second game, Wabash versus Elmhurst was actually a pretty good game. Elmhurst, probably the best they've played all season. Absolutely clicking on all cylinders. Unfortunately, one unfortunate moment with Schreiber in about 5 minutes left to go in the first half, where a very hard foul, flagrant 2, and he was ejected from the contest. Kind of goes back to the fact that put Wabash in a tough spot, because we didn't talk about it because it really wasn't picked up upon. They lost one of their key guys off the bench after the first weekend in Hardy. I think it was Hardy. I think I have the name right there. And that had a significant impact, because now you don't have that extra individual on the bench that you can come in. You had to go to other guys. It was unfortunate. Jess Hall, and not Hardy, Jesse Hall. 6'8", forward, freshman out of, interesting enough, Crawfordsville, Indiana. Left the program right after the first weekend. Many of us didn't pick up on it, and certainly picked up on it going into the championship weekend, though. But when Schreiber was ejected from the game, they didn't have Hall there to, right? Am I thinking of Hall? I think I'm thinking of Hall. Just paranoia that I've got the wrong guy. But let me double check here. Yep, it was Hall. He only played 9 minutes total in the opening weekend. Not sure what that was all about, but as a result, disappeared. they didn't have the backup they needed when Schreiber was ejected from the game. And Elmer's took full advantage of it as a result. And Elmer's punched its first ever ticket to the championship game, as did Randolph-Macon. And Randolph-Macon did to Elmer's what everybody has done. Elmer's got to an 18-17 lead with a great run in the first half. And then 21-5 run to close the half for Randolph-Macon. And then they walked away from there and basically ended it. And won by the largest margin in D3 men's basketball championship history. And tied the largest in NCAA men's basketball championship history. I think it was Duke UNLV. 30-point win over Elmer's for their first ever national championship. Really impressive, to say the least. Buzz Anthony got most outstanding player for the tournament, and Kenedy Schoonveld for Hope got the most outstanding player on their side. We will talk to both of them coming up on tonight's show. They were both D3Hoops.com Players of the Year as well. They're also Jostens finalists. We'll talk to Buzz and Kenedy coming up. We've talked to them recently. We'll talk to them now that it's all over. Also ahead, Randolph-Macon Coach Josh Merkel will join us, and Hope Coach Brian Morehouse will join us. We'll then hear from the D3Hoops.com staff. Gordon Mann can't make it. Ryan Scott says he can, and I believe we'll hear from Gordon Mann or Pat Coleman as well, but I'm not positive, actually. Forgot to confirm. But we'll talk about the tournament and everything that took place as well. So there you go. Great events. Fort Wayne, the arena did a nice job of rolling out the carpet and welcoming everybody. There was a lot of things else going on, just like there was a lot going on in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh had the men's basketball championship weekend as well, the first two rounds, which the women got to go see one of those games. On the men's side, there was a Lutheran high school championship tournament there that weekend. The arena had the alpaca event of some kind, a gun show as well. Just a lot going on. So neither city really totally focused on the D3 championships, but it was nice, at least in Fort Wayne, to see coaches we hadn't seen in a long time and got to see the All-Star game played once again. And, all in all, pretty good. Congratulations to both teams who basically were the cream of the crop in Division III throughout the last few years. And it was well attended, but it was well worth going. By the way, Zach Snyder, who I got a chance to meet along with his brother Matt, just tweeted not much time left on I'm told D3 Hoopsville in Fort Wayne that I would get my order in, and I just did. Thank you, Zach. The T-shirts available, if you've forgotten. We have T-shirts available. I had a graphic I made, and I've forgotten it, so I will make another one that shows the 3 shirts that you can get. I'll say this much: those 3 shirts, that's one thing, but you can also get some. You don't have to get just that design on them, which we'll show you here in a bit. There's other designs. There's other styles you could get. So just give me a moment. We'll show that off here in a moment. But again, those shirts are available for you to enjoy if you want. It's a Hoopsville shirt. It goes to benefit the show. We hope you'll consider giving us a little bit of a help. It goes for the end of the month, as long as you can get these shirts. So don't waste any time. Is my point. And here, we'll get them up on the screen for you. Here they are. Ta-da! There's your shirts. And there's a link just tweeted. We retweeted Zach's link. There's a link pinned to my D3Hoops.com Twitter account. We'll also get one on the show page after the show. Those are the shirts. 3 different styles, and you can get 3 different designs. There's different designs, different colors. Lots of things you can do on there. So please don't hesitate. Hoopsville.itemorder.com. Hoopsville.itemorder.com. A cotton tee, a performance tee, and an essential tee. Not in that order. From left to right, it's on the picture you're looking at, performance tee, essential tee, cotton tee. There you go. So thank you, Zach, for the reminder on that. Hope you'll consider getting them and helping the cause, as it were. Congratulations to All-Americans, as both D3Hoops.com and All-American lists have come out. Also, the NABC All-American lists have been out. So is the WBCA. NABC came out about a week ago. D3Hoops.com All-Americans came out on Saturday, and the WBCA All-Americans came out today. The only difference, there's a lot of differences. But Player of the Year, the NABC went with Ryan Terrell from Yeshiva. Of course, we went with Buzz Anthony. But the NABC or the WBCA and D3 Hoops all went with Schoonveld from Hope. So congratulations to her on the double selection there. National Coach of the Year went to GP Gromacki on the women's side for our selection. Went to Meg Barber for the WBCA. On our selection, we went with Josh Merkel for Coach of the Year. NABC, actually, I don't know if they announced that. Did they? I'm just typing it in real quick to see if maybe I've forgotten or missed it or something along those lines. Yeah, I'll have to look it up. I am absolutely unsure of whether that is something they've announced or not on the NABC side. One of those things where sometimes you just can't keep track of it all. I know they announced the All-America list. The question just becomes whether they announced more than that. But we'll double check throughout the show. But I didn't remember seeing it. So if you've got questions, tweet us at D3Hoopsville, hashtag Hoopsville, email us hoopsville@d3sports.com. We're live streaming on YouTube, youtube.com/Hoopsville. You're allowed to ask us questions there as well. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/Hoopsville. Send us a comment there if you so choose as well. We'd love to hear from you and interact with you. Again, coming up, Josh Merkel will join us from Randolph-Macon. We'll talk about the national championship, what it means for him, the program, the school. Believe it or not, it's Randolph-Macon's first national title, I believe, in any sport. Then we'll have Buzz Anthony and Kenedy Schoonveld from Hoop, from Randolph-Macon and Hope on to talk about being players of the year and national champions, of course. And then Brian Morehouse will join us, and then Ryan Scott and others. I just got a tweet. Oh, thank you. Zach Snyder, I appreciate the assist on that. They did give Josh Merkel the Coach of the Year. That was announced. Oh, that's why I missed it. It came out earlier today. I hadn't seen that earlier today. So Josh Merkel cleans up both Coach of the Year honors there. I think the picture they're using is a D3 photography photo, if I'm not mistaken. The D3 photo guys were awesome, both in Pittsburgh and in Fort Wayne. If you get a chance, we'll try and send out a tweet later as well. The portfolios were outstanding. Really great to see. And fun stuff. Let's see here. Trying to see if maybe they've already tweeted them out and I can just cheat and grab them now. Yep, we've got them. I'll tweet out right now the men's, and we'll grab the women's later. Great photography out there in both Pittsburgh and Fort Wayne. I highly encourage you to buy some pictures if possible. And whatnot. Well worth supporting them and their efforts throughout as well. So there you go. Just a little bit of business. This is our last video show of the season. This is how we do it. We do one more video show to wrap the season up, and then we will get to go to podcasts idea. Now, in the past, we've struggled a little bit with this, but it has been a few years since we've had a normal year. The plan will be that basically on a monthly basis, we'll put out a podcast, or if something warrants. The something warrants thing can certainly change the equation a wee bit. But so my thought at this point is we are here in late March 22nd to be exact. My other life of spring sports and others is now ramped up fully. And so I have to focus a little bit on that. So worst case scenario, we'll get out a podcast mid-April probably. And we'll stick to around the mid-time of the month, though that time sometimes can drag to the end. We even may have some guest hosts. Pat Coleman maybe does something and we'll have him do it, or someone else. But that gives us April, May, June, July, August, September, and October. So 7 shows to do. Again, if we feel that there's more to do than that, then we'll do more than that. Right now, we'll do it kind of in the format of this show, in the sense that we'll have a couple interviews with individuals, depending on the topic of the day or topic of the show or other things that we're trying to cover. And then in November, we'll get back to the shows that there are, as you know. But we'll cross that bridge. But just, again, this is the last video show of the year. So if you haven't subscribed to our podcast channel, which you can find on SoundCloud, or you can find on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're on a lot of different avenues, and if we're not on your favorite, let us know. But you can then jump on and follow us there. We may change the home. I'm playing with some ideas with it, where our home will be, but you can still find us in many of those locations. Speaking of podcasts, I'll listen to a lot of them on the way out to Fort Wayne and on the way back. If anyone's curious, it's about an 8-hour drive, give or take. I think it took me longer to get out there, but it took me less time to get back. So I listen to a lot of music, but sometimes I listen to podcasts. Listen to a lot of podcasts on this trip, and on the way back, I stumbled back into the Duncan Robinson podcast, the Long Shot, I believe it's called. And happened to stumble into comparing D3 and D1. That could make one nervous, to be honest. But I thought it was rather well done. It's done with his good buddy who went to Wesleyan, Davis. Forgive me, Davis. Just blanked on your last name. And Davis came up with categories to compare D3 and D1. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not nailing these down, but one was like crowd atmosphere. Another one was... now, it started with pregame music, but it got turned into pregame atmosphere, pregame vibe. Another was, I'm trying to find the word I wanted to use, but basically perks, swag from a tournament. And another one was how the schools responded, et cetera, et cetera. And Duncan gave his take on which one in each category was better, D3 or D1. And I'll tell you now, it's well worth a listen. Because it's not what you expect. Hats off to Duncan for telling it as it was. And some of them, obvious, the category I knew where it was headed. Others, I was a little surprised. So check them out. Well worth the listen. You don't have to listen to all his podcasts. I have not been able to listen to all of them. I wouldn't mind going back and trying. But definitely worth listening to that one. It's the most recent one, D3 versus D1, unless they came out with one this week already. And you'll enjoy it, I assure you. I think you might find it rather interesting. And with that, we're going to take a break and get our first guest lined up. It'll be Josh Merkel from the now number one, has been number one for quite some time, Randolph-Macon Yellow Jackets men's basketball. Josh will join us to talk about the national championship and so much more. You are listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the NABC studios. Thanks to our partners at the WBCA, Blue Frame Technology, and many others. Back with more after this.
These are your teams, your players, your community of fans. This is where they play, where they practice, where you cheer. At every meet, every event, every game. Your community is passionate, dedicated, supportive. You know the tension of a close game and the thrill of the win. So while you're cheering, keep an eye out for anything out of the ordinary. If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
It starts right when you hit the court. You imagine your finest moment. The game-winning shot that gets you to the dance. A monster dunk or no-look pass, and cutting down the net. Sports lets us dream of our own success and prepare us for our finest moments on and off the court.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
In any way that we can.
To get a friend home safe.
To never blame the victim.
It's on us.
To stand up.
To make our community safe for all.
It's on us.
It's on us to look out for each other at parties.
It's on us.
To be more than just a bystander.
To step up and say something.
It's on us, all of us.
To stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody, as we continue on this Tuesday evening edition. As we continue along, hope you're enjoying the show. If you got any questions, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us hoopsville@d3sports.com. That's hoopsville@d3sports.com. Lots of ways you can get a hold of us, and we hope you'll take advantage of them. And we're on Facebook, facebook.com/Hoopsville. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/Hoopsville. If you got questions or whatever, hey, give us a ring. We'll try and answer your questions if at all possible. Great to catch up with a lot of the coaches. The All-Star game at the NABC put on was pretty fun to watch. Guys, it was not surprisingly back and forth in offense, not much defense till the end when things got a little bit more serious. But fun to chat with players and chat with coaches who were able to make the trip. Women did not have their game. Sorry, just got a text I had to deal with. Never mind. Sorry. Women did not have their All-Star game, and we hope to see that back here relatively soon from the women's side. It certainly was worth doing, and we hope that the women will take advantage of it in the future and get the funding and everything in place to be able to do it as well. With that in mind, we now actually end the bids, by the way. We turn over to a new bid cycle, which is why we'll be back in Fort Wayne until 2026. I believe we're in Salem for the women's on the next run. More importantly, though, we're actually in Dallas for D1, D2, D3 for women in 2023. I'm not sure. The men's will not be made up for what we lost in 2020, and I don't remember if there's another one set up yet or not. We'll certainly look into that in the offseason. With that in mind, let's talk about the number one team in the country and now the defending champs, the champs of 2022 on the men's side. It is the Randolph-Macon Yellow Jackets. Had a tremendous run to the championship, to say the least. Finished with just one loss in overtime by a basket. That close to perfection. Something I didn't really think we appreciated until the end when they dominated their way through the NCAA tournament, winning every game by, I think the average was 25. Joining us on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville Hotline, it is Josh Merkel, who joins us to chat all about it. Coach, good to see you. Congratulations. I know this has been long in coming. I'm curious, now that you had a couple of days to kind of let it soak in, what's it feel like?
Feels good, Dave, and thanks for having me on. Always good to talk with you. It might feel better than I expected. Just to see the joy on our guys' faces, the whole experience of the struggle and then cutting down the nets and the family's joy. It's pretty neat, pretty special. NCAA does a great job. You guys do a great job covering. And I think guys are going to be excited for a while.
Yeah, I have a feeling they'll be pretty excited for a while. Speaking of excitement, it was so exciting that Fundenberg shaved his beard. I saw video and he had this long beard going, made him very recognizable. I didn't recognize him on the video. I'm now begging to know, and maybe you don't know. Was that all pandemic based?
I don't know if it was pandemic based. Funny, it has he's got a lot of hair, so he'll grow out the top, he'll grow out the beard. I think he just a little superstition that he didn't want to cut it until the season was over.
Fair.
And as soon as the season was over, it was coming off. So he went from like a fifth year to looking like a sophomore freshman again.
Yes, he did. Yes. Again, if someone hadn't mentioned his name or put a graphic up, I would not have realized it was him.
So true.
I mean, again, long beard, but it's soaking in and taking it in many different ways. One of them is apparently shave the whole thing off. At this point, are you just going to go without shaving? I mean, you've won. Is your superstition the other way around?
Maybe I used to, but I don't have many superstitions now, Dave. I don't know that I have any. So I shave every morning I wake up. It doesn't look good. I can't grow a good beard like Fundy.
Yeah,
if I could like Fundy, I might.
I can't shave every day, but I can't grow a beard either, to save any part of my life, much to everybody's happiness. Obviously, I'm more curious about a lot of things, but I'm curious about how the school reacted. We knew they came out and supported you well. I heard from a few friends, even in the ODAC, former ODAC members, which I missed in Fort Wayne, but they were there on hand. But what was the reaction like when you guys got back to Ashland, Virginia?
Man, the community of Ashland, they've always been behind us, and they're always excited about our guys, and not just winning, but how we win. And they were awesome. So when we flew back and pulled onto campus, there was probably about 150 people cheering the guys on and welcoming us at the fountain. And then on Monday, they closed down the dining hall. They had food outside for all the students and any alums and supporters that wanted to join. And then we went into Crenshaw, and I spoke a bit. Buzz spoke a bit. Our AD said a few words, and so it was really special seeing the excitement and joy that we can bring to the community around Ashland.
I told you this on Saturday, and I said it on the broadcast. I basically said what Hal Nunley couldn't do, what Webb couldn't do, what Nate Davis and Mike Rhodes couldn't do. You ended up winning a championship. And it almost seems shocking to me when I look at Randolph-Macon history that there hasn't been a championship. It always seems to come up short. What was different about this year, knowing the history of Randolph-Macon, that you guys were able to pull this together?
Well, I think, number one, those guys have set the foundation brick by brick, and you can't underestimate that work that they've been putting in to build that tradition, to come up short and yet keep striving and keep trying. I think more so it shows just how hard it is and how things have to fall into place, go your way. You have to be talented. You have to be a good defensive team. You have to stay injury-free, which we did. You have to have the absence of some bad luck and some bad bounces. I mean, we were really working on, I remember, I think Chattanooga advanced on that half-court shot. The guy is going left, and I'm like, guys, I don't know what we would do differently in this situation other than we can't only be up 2 in a game like that and with them having the ball. So, Dave, I could say all day the players, the Buzz Anthony, Miles Mallory, but everyone really buying into their role, and then having a talented group and an older group and older guards, strong guards, in Josh Talbert and Buzz Anthony. Just a couple of reasons why we were able to punch through this year.
Now you go back, you lost the one game by a single point, Christopher Newport, in overtime back on Sunday, the 28th of November at the CNU Classic. You had gone back-to-back in Classics. Interesting enough, CNU wasn't ranked at the time, but they were a top 25 team really in all essence. So you ended up playing 4 straight top 25 teams in that stretch, losing that 4th one. What was it about that game that triggered the rest of the season? Because amazingly, including an ODAC play, you didn't drop another one.
Yeah, I mean, credit to CNU, Johnny K, and his staff and his players. They're a great program, not just team, but program. And even with some new guys and young guys, they're tough, they're physical, they rebound, they really know how to guard. John just does a great job. So, every one of those, we look at them as, a great measuring stick. And hopefully, we're somewhere close for them. But they were tougher. And I told our team after, I think there's a lot of value in owning the loss. I said, that's why he's a Final Four coach and I'm not. We weren't tough enough the last 5 minutes. Even though we may have played well the first 35, it was a great lesson for our guys about finishing, playing for 40, not 35. I definitely think it sharpened our focus going into the ODAC because we played Roanoke and Virginia Wesleyan that next week. And we have a bunch of guys, Dave, we got some freshmen and sophomores that don't know about losing. And so there is, it's an art how you bounce back from a loss. In the past, years ago, we lost 2 games in a row. And that was one of our guys' goals a few years ago, is that we would never lose 2 in a row. We'd always find a way to bounce back. And so proud of the guys for that. And sometimes you need that loss. I mean, people are now talking about the perfect record. There were other games we could have lost during the year. We just wanted to keep getting better. And sometimes, having a loss can wake your guys up and really make people aware. Growth happens in the extremes. Losing is an extreme. Losing that when we were led by 35 minutes was extreme, but it certainly helped us grow.
You guys, prior to that, in the previous 6 games, had 3 games 10 points or in single digits. After that, you had 3 games in single digits the rest of the season, and they came in a 4-game stretch at the end of January, beginning of February. You guys defensively went to another world, and you seem to keep going deeper into that hole, as it were, the rest of the season. I know that I've always heard the adage, and you've said it, unless you play defense, you're not getting on the floor. It doesn't matter how good you are offensively. You guys really took that to another edge, because I'm blown away by what you did to really, really good teams. Was it an all-in mentality? What was the clicking moment?
Discipline equals freedom. Once you have an awareness and a base for how you can guard, keep the ball in front, help your teammates, rebound, then you can have more freedom to maybe make some plays. Josh Talbert's certainly a good example. He's got great instincts to steal, but we need to get that vision in that position. It's something that we've trained. It's something that we're committed to. We think of ourselves as having a defensive identity, in that we're just going to get better as the game goes on when we're playing some of these teams. But it starts with the players, Dave. I mean, from film session to film session, hungry to learn, growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. I've certainly blistered some guys in the film room, not in a bad way, but just like, hey, we need you. We need you to grow. We need you to get this. And our guys have been so resilient and so coachable. And you see the end product out there on Friday and Saturday in the Final Four.
Well, and everyone talked about the difference between the two Marietta games going into the second one. What would it be closer, because Marietta's gotten better? And I guess it was because of that defensive mentality. You guys were playing more players. You were deeper offensively, because it seems those guys had bought in defensively.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to put you out there if you can't add some value. And I think guys had been doing that. And shoot, there were even a couple guys I would have loved to get in there. Couldn't quite pull the trigger, but some guys that are really close to being ready that should be able to help us next year. I don't know, Dave. I think with all the things that have gone on within our group, referencing get to the Sweet 16, seasons canceled for COVID, don't have an opportunity to play for a championship last year, with some really good players and good teams, there was just this sense that we are not going to let this opportunity pass us by. I also really think it speaks to the love that our players had for each other, especially our seniors. That was a theme that was running through. So when they're in a film session, they're thinking about their guy. Man, I got to be locked in. I want to be at my best for Buzz Anthony, for David Funderburg. And that's a powerful feeling when guys – that's where the click starts to happen, is when those guys are doing it out of love.
I know it's just one championship, and what has lost for the last couple of years will certainly sting for a while. Because when you look at numbers like, not only did you win 33 or 34 games this year, you won something like 51 of the last 52. You won 102 of the last 109 games in the last 4 years. This team has been in an insane place for a long time, and that is hard to do for any good program. Mm-hmm. Especially when you lose players, you go through the pandemic. That's a whole nother level of crazy. What is it about this unit that you were able to put together through recruiting that just seemed to be different?
Well, we certainly have plenty of talent. I heard Coach Bain say, that they had an embarrassment of riches. So I can certainly echo and understand that. I think 2 things come to mind right away, Dave, is number one, you have guys that are not caught up in their own numbers. Like Ian Robertson, I think Vanderwall said this, he's a 7 points a game guy. But if you look at somebody like that, you're missing out on the fact of how good a player he is. He would average a lot more on other teams. He was a tremendous player, but he bought into, all right, this is what the team needs from me. If it means we're going to win, I'm all in. And I think we had more winners, more focused on being part of something bigger than themselves. And that's huge. And then you have, the speed of the leader determines the speed of the pack. So Buzz has been all in on basketball and improvement and winning since he got to campus. And then as he, matured and grew on his leadership journey, he was just pulling guys with him, and they don't even know it, and he doesn't even know it, but they didn't want to let him down. But we could get a lot done when you have a locker room leader like him, who's always present every single practice session and is essentially a coach on the sideline, really giving high-level instruction and helping us solve problems.
It was amazing. You talk about Buzz, and we were going into that final game, and Elmhurst is known to shut down the best player on every team. They had done it against Wabash with Jack Davidson. They had done it pretty much every game in the tournament. They had done it with other games throughout the season. Hooker is an amazing defender on ball and off. And I said to a lot of people, I said, okay, that's great. Listen, I know they can shut down Buzz Anthony if they want to, but here's the difference with Randolph-Macon. They don't care. It almost seems like you guys don't care if Buzz is taken out because you have so many options and he doesn't have to score to be good.
Yeah. I think we're blessed in that area, Dave, because, if you look at Elmhurst, they need Rhodey to score 18, right, to do what they do or get to 70-plus points. And Marietta might be similar. They need those guards to really get going. I mean, certainly Buzz never had a bad game this year. I think, he missed some shots, but his defense was always, one of the best defenders on the floor, if not the best. And he's doing all those little things. He's leading the team. He's running the offense. He's, if the game is calling for him to assist and hunt the paint and make others better, then that's what he's going to do. He just doesn't care about reaching his averages or anything like that. What he cares about is the win. And it is unique. It is rare to just have that going in. And he wants to make everybody better. And so when you have that, and we, Dave, I've said this before, but I credit the ODAC because we saw great players, great defenses, Hamden Sydney, Guilford. Buzz has seen a lot of different looks thrown at him. A double coming early. Not even a ball screen, and they're just running a second defender. So we had to learn and figure out how to solve some problems because we were playing some great defenses in our own season. And I think, and I told some of the ODAC coaches, we were really tested more in the ODAC, and I know this is typical of leagues because you're really familiar. But we had some big time tests in our ODAC season, and maybe people are just sleeping on the ODAC, and that's why they were sleeping on us. There's some great teams in the ODAC that probably should have been playing.
I'll swing back to the ODAC in a minute because I did have a thought I wanted to run past you. But quickly back to Elmhurst. They're a team that was 22-0 this season when they scored 80 points. They averaged 81. You held them to 45, Josh. Did you guys not get the memo? They're a good offense. What was the secret? Listen, I know you have a good defense, and you've done this to every team, but how do you hold so many good teams like an Elmhurst to a 45?
Whew. I mean, what I would say is our offense is also good defense. When you make people guard multiple actions and make them run around a little bit, you can take a little bit of energy and conditioning out of them. So that's one key is we're going to make you, we want to get into your legs a little bit, make you guard multiple actions, not turn it over and give you easy ones. And then secondly, I don't know, our guys take great pride in the defense. We say defense travels. We talked about bricks. I mean, I don't think it's any different than what other teams do. I think maybe our guys have the capacity to do it. They're extremely connected. We feel like we're prepared and ready for anything, and then we just have to go out and finish it. I'll say WPI, I thought guys did a great job of like handling their different actions, but then when the shot went up, they were just killing us, like Guilford did, like CNU did. But thankfully playing those guys, we were able to learn from it, I think get better at it, and then it showed up again in the Elmhurst game where we weren't giving them many seconds. So I think offense can be your best defense, and then I think those committed defenders, like we looked at that stat, Dave, and we said, I don't think there was a guy on our roster that really felt like they were going to get to 70. And so we took a lot of confidence from that because we had done it. It's not like we're just talking about it. It's what we have done to some other teams.
Well, you beat Mitchell in the first round by 42. You beat Babson in the second round by 16. You beat both Mass Dartmouth and WPI by 23 each. You beat Marietta by 18, and it didn't even feel that close. And you ended up beating Elmhurst by 30. 30 in the championship game. By the way, largest victory by a Division III men's basketball champion in the championship game, and ties the All-NCAA championship game record with Duke UNLV. That's a staggering number. You would put games away early. Like you would have, I told many others, you seem to have a run like in the first half somewhere where you would gain distance. In the Elmhurst case, you were down 18-17 going on a 21-5 run into halftime. And in the second half, all you do is inch away. Is that the offense? Is that the defense? Is it the combo?
Yeah, I'd say combo, and I'd say just laser focused, committed, we coach every possession, especially on defense. I'm writing down every single score and what was the breakdown. Now, sometimes I like perfect world, all I write down is tough shot over someone. But that's the perfect defense. There's a lot of, we call them defensive crimes, and we just continually point those out, not in a, make you feel bad way, but like, we need you to close this gap and fix it so that people are watching. We've got some talented coaches and players watching this film, and they're going to take advantage. If someone gets scored on in the post, they're going to take advantage of that. We've always been working to close those gaps, Dave. And I would say that's probably the biggest thing. But, we've taken, ever since we had some painful losses, didn't advance in the ODAC tournament early on, and certainly in my coaching career and in some of our players, there's just been this emphasis on winning every possession. I think that's what's reflected in our margin of victory, that guys, you can't take plays off. You play to the standard. We do not play the scoreboard. I was coaching those guys in the last minute because we think every possession really does matter.
Yeah, I saw you coaching in the last minute. Very much so. By the way, quick note, I know you don't like it being called a 3-2. For the layperson, that's the best way to describe it for him. Mo Cassera certainly did his fair share of 3-2, and he knows defenses as well as anybody. But what I was a little surprised by is, and I kind of forgotten, to be honest, that you and Dale Wellman had been coaching buds at Eastern Kentucky. I know he plays something similar, but I feel like I wasn't watching the Nebraska Wesleyan defense there. Do you two have similarities, but a lot of differences that makes yours just more unique?
Yeah, because I think it can morph, just like an offense will morph. You could have the same offense, but you have different personalities running it. And I think that's what it was, is he had a little more length than probably we had. So we have to make up for it maybe with quicker feet and more active hands or whatever that is. There's certainly, you're giving up something in that 3-2. And the fact that we've played it for as long as we have, we've been able to make a lot of mistakes and kind of fine tune. I know this with Dale, that his team really believed in it. Like when he was like, hey, do you want to go man or zone? They were always, maybe go to the zone. And our guys kind of fought that until this year. And, this year they knew how good it was for us. We probably said before every game, hey, it needs to be good for us this year. I've had teams that were better man defensive teams. This one was still learning, growing. We had some young guys out there that, probably the zone helped hide some deficiencies. And, it's hard to just pound it inside when you're doing that, and it can create some turnovers that can get your offense going.
Yeah, and you guys, of course, didn't stick with it the whole time. I saw you changing in and out of it throughout the season, throughout a game, et cetera. Back to the ODAC. I said this this weekend to a lot of people because I think I kind of realized it myself. Yeah, we all thought the ODAC was a bit down in the last couple of years. I think in reality, you were just smoking them. You were absolutely taking it to some teams, and it made us not appreciate maybe just how competitive that conference has been, because about midway through this year, I kind of remember looking going, you know what? It's better than I think it is. Randolph-Macon's just beating everybody.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Yeah, we could talk about whether another one should have been in there. I think happenstance, Roanoke beats Guilford once, and you do have a second one in there. Mm-hmm. But just from your scope, was it because you were so much better that the rest of the ODAC maybe didn't get the attention it normally gets?
I think you hit it on the head in terms of that one, kind of part of the system where, Roanoke's not on the board because Guilford's on top of them, and so no one can consider Roanoke. Both those teams could easily have won some games in the ODAC tournament, especially if they got to host. Just think a lot of those teams in their programs. So yeah, I don't know, Dave. I think a lot of the guys that we're competing against, and it's I hope that we're more than a one-bid league moving forward. I'll just say that.
Yeah, no, I think you guys normally are. I think just happenstance, really, to be honest with you, more than anything. Looking ahead, okay, you lose Buzz Anthony. That's going to sting a little bit. You'll lose some other guys like Ian Robertson. By the way, apparently he'd like to play Marietta as much as possible. 20 points in November, 22 in the semifinals. But you also bring back a ton of this team, including Mallory. This isn't one-trick pony. You guys are kind of set for a while, and I'm sure this will help recruiting too. You guys must be excited.
Oh, super excited. Yeah. Well, we're going to miss those four guys, and they brought even more than, you can look at the stats, but they just brought so much to the locker room and the camaraderie, and they've been through a lot, so you know how tough they are. Ian, is just a big game shot maker and an awesome teammate and extremely coachable kid. So, I'm going to miss all those guys. Daquan Morris from the Hill School, and certainly David Funderburg too. It was a really strong core, man. No one's won more than those guys have in their time together. But I'm excited. I mean, Miles and Josh are gym rats. They're always in the gym. I'm excited to see and partner with them and see what they're going to do and work to improve on. It felt like the last couple years that it was my job not to screw them up, my job not to mess up. And I think with this group, we won't quite have as much of a bullseye on the back. Not that we, can't get there, but it is exciting to see what we can do and have other guys emerge and step up.
Fundenberg and Anthony, 2 losses in their career at Crenshaw. Morris and Richardson, 0 losses in 45 games at Crenshaw. I know Crenshaw is a special place, but those 4 made it a real special place, did they not?
Yeah, no, I mean, Crenshaw is a special place, but it's almost staggering. It's almost laughable. It's like,
yes.
We've had some good teams come in there into that gym, and those guys are doing something right.
Hey, have you offered Buzz Anthony an assistant coaching job yet?
Buzz is going to be playing overseas, and but he's always I think, as you know, I think extremely highly of that guy, and I think that guy could be a Brad Stevens, Shaka Smart, coaching at the highest level, coaching the NBA. His basketball IQ and how he teaches the game is on another level, especially at his age.
Yeah, no. Looking forward to seeing what he does. Looking forward to talking to him. He's probably waiting for us to get done with this so we can talk with him and Kenedy Schoonveld. But, hey, I appreciate the time. I'd love to talk about this forever. I just got a kick out of watching you guys because I was so amazed by the way you played, especially down the stretch. But congratulations on the championship. I know that will get put in a special place in the new building. Hey, we saw lots. I was going to say, by the way, well done balancing up on the ladder, cutting nets with 2 children, including that one in your arms. That was well done.
Thank you.
Hi. He's got the same look he did in Fort Wayne. What is all this, Dad? And what is going on?
He did a pretty good job of keeping quiet. I was proud of him.
No, he's done a great job. Did better than my daughter, who I could hear upstairs, who's much older. Hey, Josh, thanks for the time. Really appreciate it. Congratulations on the championship, obviously, and congratulations on everything you guys have accomplished. I know this will probably open the door for some more Yellow Jacket teams as well. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those tuned in?
Oh, Dave, no, thanks for talking Randolph-Macon hoops. Love shining the light on our guys, our team. Love the job that you do, D3 Hoops. Super appreciative of your time and the energy that you put into this thing. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Josh. Looking forward to maybe shooting hoops someday, but shooting the breeze someday as well. Congratulations. Enjoy the summer and enjoy the family.
All right, Dave, you too. See ya.
Take care. Josh Merkel joining us on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville Hotline. Fun to chat with him. Great chatting. Look forward to catching up with him down the road as well. By the way, a lot of people thinking this might lead to a D1 job possibly in the future for him. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I think an absolute perfect job has to come along for that to happen. I don't think he's just leaving Randolph-Macon like others have because a job has come their way. But we'll see. You never know. I'm sure he'll get some phone calls. We'll take a break. When we come back, Buzz Anthony and Kenedy Schoonveld join us on the show to talk about the championships and being players of the year. You listen to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the NABC studios. Back with more after this.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. That's what you have here tonight. That's what you've earned here tonight. This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
In any way that we can.
To get a friend home safe.
To never blame the victim.
It's on us.
To stand up.
To make our community safe for all.
It's on us.
It's on us to look out for each other at parties.
It's on us.
To be more than just a bystander.
To step up and say something.
It's on us, all of us.
To stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
There are over 480,000 college athletes. Only 2% would go pro. That means over 470,000 will not get a shoe contract. No autographs. No private jets. No fan clubs. No Hall of Fame inductions. Instead, they will walk away with something much more valuable.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at d3hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Welcome back to Hoopsville as we get closer to the end of the official season. We always joke we don't wrap up the season until we finish up Hoopsville. We're on the season finale. Reminder, we'll go to podcasts moving forward from here. If you've got questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville, hashtag Hoopsville. You can email us, hoopsville at d3sports.com. You can also, by the way, if that's not working, let me know. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. You can also email me, I guess we'll try that one, dave.mchugh at d3sports.com. We'll change the crawl there, dave.mchugh at d3sports.com. It just dawned on me, somebody had mentioned to us recently that maybe that wasn't working. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/Hoopsville, where we're simulcasting the show along with Facebook, facebook.com/Hoopsville. All right, so let's talk about the best players in all the land, as it were. They include the 2 champions, the 2 best programs in the country. And as a result of that, we wanted to talk to the best players in all the land as well, because they played some really good basketball to help lead their teams to some national championships. So joining us on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville hotline to chat about all of this and to humor me at the same time, it is Kenedy Schoonveld from Hope and Buzz Anthony from Randolph-Macon joining us here live via the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville hotline. Kenedy and Buzz, thanks for the time. Appreciate it. Congratulations on the championships.
Thank you so much.
Hello.
Good to see you. It's been a hot minute for Buzz and I. Kenedy didn't get a chance to see you play. Well, I got to watch on video. Certainly did that, but I wasn't able to drop by Pittsburgh. So we'll start with you, Kenedy. First and foremost, what was the experience like? Because you got a little bit different than everybody else. You got out there on by Wednesday. You played your games Thursday. You had a day off Friday. You got to go to take some D1 game in, and then you had your championship on Saturday. And now Buzz is jealous. I watched that face there for a moment. Tell us about the experience being out there in Pittsburgh, Kenny.
Yeah, it was awesome. I think to be able to win it was definitely the coolest thing, but the overall experience out there was truly one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of. And our team had a great time and bonded even more. So it was awesome.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wanted you to have a good time. Just a gut feeling, including Trine. Think they were done with you having a good time. What was it like to take it? Which game did you go to out there in Pittsburgh on the men's side?
We got there about halfway through the Loyola Chicago and Ohio State game, and we stayed through halftime of the Villanova game. So couple of them.
And then you got recognized at halftime of that second game, didn't you? They brought you guys out.
We did, yeah.
Not too shabby. What was that like to be recognized on the floor?
Super cool. Yeah, just something that I will cherish forever for sure. I mean, we had seats like right behind the bands, so we were like courtside, which was awesome. And then they brought us onto the court. So yeah, it was just a really awesome experience for sure.
I'm sorry it didn't work out so well for you, Kenedy.
I know,
really
right?
a shame. Really is. Buzz, you had a little different experience there in Fort Wayne. First and foremost, that is the biggest crowd, I believe, at least in recent memory, for any Division III game outside of the 2013 championship game, which was free to everybody who showed up in Atlanta. What was it like to play there on Friday night? Because that place was rocking.
Man, it was unreal. I'd never been to Indiana, so I think it started with the myth of Indiana basketball being on the East Coast. Kid growing up watching Hoosiers, so we kind of bounced around on our trip there, but our last leg was flying to Toledo, Ohio, and then driving 2 hours into Fort Wayne. So some guys were playing like old country music, try to get the theme feeling right and driving the bus in. So I think it started with that, and then it didn't disappoint. Really cool seeing the game after, too, with all the Wabash fans, and I think it was only like an hour away.
Did you say Wabash fans?
I did.
Okay, we're fixing this now. Kennedy's laughing because she knows better. Wabash.
My apologies. But
no, you're fine. I'm fixing it now. I've heard some people stick on that. I've never heard of anybody thinking of it was Wabash, but I've heard it like a dozen times now in the last week. Hey, did you guys measure the rims officially, since it was all about Indiana and basketball, Hoosiers, et cetera? Did you go make sure it was 10 feet and 94 feet and all that stuff?
We did not.
Okay.
We didn't.
Well, it didn't seem to hurt you guys too badly in your games.
But
I know that this is probably obvious, but I got to ask, what's the feeling like, Buzz, to win the championship? I mean, what you two both have is unique because you're both part of programs that, since the tournament got shut down, were, if you weren't favorites, you certainly were in the mix to win a national championship every single year. 2019 obviously didn't go that way, but 2020, both your programs were pointed in that direction. And 2021 probably pointing in that direction, and then this year. So, Buzz, from your perspective, what's it like to get that accomplished, to win the championship that just didn't exist for so many years despite the success?
It's great. I know I've spoken a couple times just about, for those seniors that these past 2 years that weren't able to have this experience in Indiana, it meant the world to them. I know for us, we had a good amount of them came and traveled to our games. So seeing them in the stands was beyond cool. Hanging out with them after the game and sharing that moment was really special. So I think that was probably the biggest thing. And then, even a deep breath, even kind of almost just years of some pent up dreaming, feeling like you deserved it, even though winning is not fair. You don't deserve, anything. That's the awesome part about March. But just an awesome sigh of relief. For Randolph-Macon, it was the first national championship ever. So it was really cool to do that for our school.
Kenedy, from your perspective, yeah, that's true for you guys, Buzz, for any program, which is just mind-boggling considering how good Randolph-Macon usually is in all aspects of sport. Kenedy, from your perspective, what was it like to finally get that championship you guys have been kind of angling for years?
Yeah, it was incredible. I think, similar to what Buzz said, I think there was a lot of pent-up energy, pent-up excitement, because there was a lot that we didn't get to experience the years before. And I think we were mostly just grateful that there even was a tournament this year. And just grateful for the opportunity to compete for a national championship. No matter what happened, we were just really grateful for that. But to be able to win one now and bring that back to the Hope community is something really special, and we'll definitely remember it forever. So,
Kenedy, your games were a little bit nip and tuck, for lack of a better description. Buzz, in the meantime, their games were close for the opening 10 minutes, and then they were blowouts. They're just in another world over there in Ashland, Virginia. You guys had, I think it was, a 13 or 15-point lead going into the fourth quarter against Trine. They come roaring back, which probably in your book, not the most surprising thing in all the land. But you also, in the championship game, had a battle with Whitewater for much of that game. What's it like to have to constantly be focused for those 40, knowing that at a different bounce of the ball, this all ends?
Yeah, I think Coach Mo has prepared us really well for those moments. I think he conditions us hard. practices are long and intense, and so we have to stay focused for those. And so I think that prepares us well for a full 40 minutes. But I also think our depth is something that's been really special on this Hope team this year. 1 through 15, we have players that can go out and make a difference on the court. And across the board, I think before the national tournament, none of us played substantial minutes. I mean, we all averaged like the same amount of minutes. And so I think it's really cool that everybody was able to contribute in that way. And I think that also helped us in the tournament run, just to be able to sub people quickly if needed. And anybody that was coming off the bench could be a threat. So I think that helped us a lot as well.
Buzz, I'm curious, how do you stay focused when you are absolutely putting it to teams defensively? I mean, Elmhurst comes in averaging 81 points per game. They absolutely manhandled Wabash, put 93 up on the scoreboard in the semifinals. You guys held them to 45. How do you keep intense during those 40 minutes so you don't let a team back in it?
I think it starts from, I think Coach touched on this a little bit, of the defensive identity. And I think just kind of what we preach. And I know me being a leader, kind of my upbringing, like playing AU when I was younger, it was, oh, here's a short white guy on the court, ISO ball, like we'll just go at this guy. So ever since I was younger, it was like, it was personal if you were going to score on me. And I think that kind of rooted itself, whether organically or not, in our team. And so each time someone would score, we talked about just learning from it. So you might hit us with your best set or your best kind of action, and then we're coming in the huddle talking about it like, all right, they're not scoring on this again. So I think teams come in with a game plan, and we focus and try to learn from what they're doing and then take it away. I think that's kind of what our zone is too, in a lot of ways, is if you do something, we just try to take it away. So I think it's a constant game. And that, for at least for me, that kept my focus always going.
Kenedy, from your perspective, actually, Buzz, before I get to Kenedy, Buzz, one of the things I thought you did, interestingly enough, I almost felt like you were toying with teams offensively. Against Marietta, I don't think you took your first shot until 5 minutes left in the first half. There were so many times I'd see you drive, and you almost had a wry smile on your face because you had no intention of scoring. You had all the intention of dragging everybody with you and then dumping it to somebody else. And then against Marietta, there were times that they were setting up a double team, and you'd literally take a half a step and go over here, and then take another half step and go, no, over here. Like you were playing with them. What you seem to be more in control than they were. Is that accurate, or am I just imagining and making it more than it is? You can admit it. Your season and career here is over. Nobody's coming after you anymore.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely think, like, we're numbers people here. We don't shoot a lot of free throws. So when I drive in the lane, it's not really seeking a lot of contact or seeking a crazy shot. A lot of times it's just trying to pull gravity. And that's what we talk about. It's like, if it's not 100% layup, let's move the thing and get an open shot or make them work again and again. So we're seeking 100% layups. And I think that's essentially what you're seeing and what you're describing is I'm kind of, just probing, getting shooting fours out in ball screen, I think is really hard to guard. So.
Makes sense.
Toying, yes.
I get it. Toying a little bit, but for different reasons than what it seems. Kenedy, yeah. You had, 9 seniors on that team, I think it was?
Me? Sorry?
Yeah, you 9 seniors on that team?
We have 6 this year, but we had 9 last year.
Okay, that's what I'm confusing.
Yeah.
What it is hard, A, to have everybody on the floor, obviously. B, it's hard to stand out when you're all trying to be a team. What's that dynamic like as a group, as your core seniors, to try and play together with the common goal when you've been around so much? Not everybody's going to get the ball.
Yeah, I think, like you said, we all came in this year with that common goal, knowing that we were going to have the opportunity to be in a national tournament again, and everybody's sights were focused on that. We're definitely like a game-by-game team, but I think at the end of the day, we were super excited about March because we hadn't had the opportunity to play in a tournament for so long. But I also think that this team this year was so unselfish. Nobody cared who had the ball in their hands at the end of the game or if they were on the bench or on the court. Everybody just wanted to win at the end of the day. And so it didn't matter who scored or got the most rebounds or got the spotlight at the end of the day. And I think that was something really, really cool about this team this year, is that everybody collectively through the whole team was just so unselfish.
You both were at home when the 2020 season got pulled from being played. Kenedy, if I remember, you guys were in the locker room, because I think I remember Brian came down to talk to you guys in the locker room. Hey, Buzz, I don't remember where you all might have been. Kenny, I'll start with you. Getting this championship after that experience in 2020, what does it mean?
So much. I don't even think I can adequately describe how much it means to us. That was a really hard moment. I mean, for our seniors, that had to just abruptly end. For all of us that had really high hopes for the postseason, that was hard. But I think now to be done and be able to say that we're national champions just means the world to us.
Yeah, I can understand that. Buzz, same question to you. What's it mean considering what happened in 2020?
Yeah, I would say similar answer as Kenedy said. I mean, I know in Fort Wayne they had like the Atlanta banner up.
Yeah, right?
That was almost brought back some memories, and even how special that year was going to be, being able to do it with the Division I, Division II, and I know we had talked about that some, and so it almost feels like it's a 3-year worthy championship, winning it this year. So yeah, like she said, it means the world to our group, to our seniors, to our school, to be national champs.
You're both also players of the year for D3Hoops.com. Kenedy, you also received it from the WBCA. Buzz, we don't know what the NABC was thinking giving it to Ryan Terrell. I'm just saying that because you're on the air. But Kenedy at least got both. I'll start with you, Buzz. What does it mean? You guys, obviously a core group of 4 seniors, but obviously as a team as well. But what does it mean to be honored as considered the best player in the sport this season, period?
Man, I'm very humbled. And blessed. Obviously, as a point guard, a lot of my success or assists comes from guys making shots, comes from guys trusting me to make a play. And I think it was really cool to see this year and this development. Because I think basketball can be flooded with scoring a lot, and my scoring was about the same as junior year, but assist numbers went up a ton, and I think it was a credit to this group. It was learning how to play with this group. It was sometimes in the fall choosing to go get lunch with a guy or just go hang out with a guy over doing like an individual skill workout. And I think that was something really cool to see as a leader, and then just as an older 23-year-old guy, to see how the team came to fruition through the tournament, through March. And then also to be, recognized, and for other people to see that, because I do believe that's part of my value as a player, and it's not just always the scoring piece. So it meant a lot. Again, I was humbled, had great mentors at Macon, and so very thankful to receive it.
12 points, 11 assists in the second half, or in the semifinal, I should say, is an example of what you're talking about there of it's about everybody else. Kenedy, from your perspective, what's it like to stand out? You're an even bigger group, 6 seniors, as we talked about, who decided to come back and do this, and you get honored as being the best of all players in Division III this year. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I'm also very humbled. I truly don't think that I would be the player or person that I am without our coaching staff that's worked with us day in and day out, both in practices, but also in individual skill workouts during the season, and just meeting for coffee, meeting for lunch. They have instilled a lot of things in me. I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot in my time here. And so I owe a lot of that to them. And I also think I don't get this award without my teammates. They push me every single day to be better. And they're truly some of my very best friends. And so I don't think that I would be anywhere close to getting this award without my team. So I wanted to give them a shout out as well. I'm so honored, but credit goes to them and to my coaches.
I got two more questions at least. Buzz, I know this is going later than I said it would. I apologize for that. Losing track of time, quickly chatting with you guys. But you're both Jostens finalists as well. And that obviously doesn't mean just what you do on the court. It means what you do in the classroom and what you do in the community as well. We'll find out what the Jostens results are later this week. But Kenedy, from your perspective, what does it mean not only to be recognized just as a finalist for what you do on the floor, but what you are as a person, essentially?
Yeah, that also means a lot to me. I was actually talking to Mo about it recently, and he just was saying like it's really cool because it's a lot weightier than just basketball, and that's crazy to think about. But I feel like I can't take any of the credit. My family has been a huge part of my life and in shaping me and who I am and what I want to do in the future. And so I want to give them credit. I'm so honored, but I feel like credit goes to other people for just coming alongside of me and mentoring me and, helping me grow into the person that I am today.
Buzz?
Yeah, I think she hit the nail on the head with just the family piece and how it is bigger than basketball. I think that's probably the biggest thing I learned from college to high school. I know like recruits will often come on visits and they'll be like, hey, what's the biggest difference in high school and college? And you can say the speed of the game and different things like that. But one of it is just the people side. I mean, you're living with these people. They're seeing your worst moments. And so having a servant mindset, having a servant approach to life has been something we preach and something that I try to do. And I think this Jostens trophy is really cool that it encompasses everything. I know I spent a lot of days. Megan Silva has her picture and everything in Crenshaw. So a lot of nights working out and seeing that and dreaming of that. So that's been a really cool kind of thing to think about here.
Whether you win the Jostens or not, Buzz, I have a feeling your picture's going up on Crenshaw's wall as well. Just a gut feeling. Quickly, what's next? Buzz, start with you. I tried to talk you into a coaching job at Randolph-Macon with Coach just before the segment started. He's obviously trying to keep you off the staff a little bit longer, says you might be playing. What are your hopes and dreams?
Yeah, my dream is I love basketball and I'm a lifer. I want to coach. I want to coach college. We talked about this last time. My parents are coaches. I love how you just have an ability to impact men. You have an ability to really mentor and walk with them in an everyday setting. And so that is the long-term goal. It's kind of been almost gifted with the great career that has happened here, the great teams that we've had. So kind of a gift to keep playing. So this week's been kind of getting sprinkled with some calls with Coach Merkel, with some agents, and starting to talk through some options for playing overseas. So that's just gonna be a ton of fun. My wife and I are talking a lot about it and just really excited to see an adventure to just be like a global citizen, just travel the world, be more than just the East Coast and USA basketball. We went to Costa Rica this year with Randolph-Macon, and so just seeing the game and seeing how you can develop a friendship like that just because you can put a ball in a basket is something really special. So I want to pursue that for a little bit. I don't know how long it'll go, but that is the plan right now.
Very cool. Kenedy, what about yourself?
Yeah. So I am getting married this summer, and then we are both moving to Waco, Texas, so I can pursue a master's of social work at Baylor.
Wow.
So that is my plan for the next year, and I don't have many plans farther than that. But very excited I've loved West Michigan and the Hope community, but to kind of go experience something new and something different, and keep learning, keep growing.
So no plans to continue playing though?
Not right now.
No, it's fine. No.
Yep.
What's the saying? Go professional on something other than sport. I get it. Most of us do. So congratulations, by the way, on getting married this summer. That's awesome. Waco is different. It's gonna be a little different than Western Michigan.
Yeah.
Just a heads up. Hey, again, plenty of time. I appreciate it all. Thanks so much for giving us insight. Congratulations on the national championships, on the individual honors, etc. As always, we give the guest, the final word. In Buzz's case, it might be coach. We always give the final word to all of you. Kenedy, start us off. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuned in?
I just really appreciate you having me on again. And I've really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Well, thank you. You make it easy. Buzz, yourself, sir, final thoughts.
Yeah, again, just appreciate what you do. It was a pleasure meeting you in Indiana. And I'll probably leave it with this. One of our mottos going into the end of this year was that winning a national championship is not going to be the best thing that happens to us this year. There's more to sports. There's more to people, and just encouraging people to keep finding fulfillment in every day and little wins every day.
Well said, Buzz. Well said indeed. By the way, remember, walnut and bronze, it's the trophy.
Right.
Sorry, inside joke with Buzz. Hey, you two both, congratulations on your careers, on your college experiences, and your championships, individual honors. Really appreciate the time. Good luck in the future. Stay in touch. We'd love to know what you're up to, and we'll look forward to seeing what you're doing down the road.
Thank you so much.
Take care, you guys. Buzz and Kenedy joining us here on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville Hotline. Fun to chat with them. Buzz is going to be appearing on, I never say this show right, the Max Fanatics YouTube show. He'll be showing up on there in about an hour's time after our show is off the air, so check that out. We got to take a quick break because Brian Morehouse is waiting for us patiently, and we're behind schedule, so we'll get to him. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the NABC studios. Back with more after this.
For the love of the game. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that, a lot more.
Sure, the game is important, but as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics, and in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
Coach of the Year, Administrator of the Year, All-America Team, Wade Trophy. The WBCA doesn't just honor coaches, but players, administrators, and much more. The WBCA strives to honor those who have contributed to the advancement of women's basketball. Celebrate the present, honor the past, look to the future.
It's on us. It's on all of us. And it's time to act now.
It's on us to start the change. It's on us to be the change. It's on us. It's on Division III. It's on all of us to stop sexual assault.
For the love of the game. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that, a lot more.
Sure, the game is important, but as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics, and in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody, as we roll along. If you got questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville, hashtag Hoopsville. Email us, hoopsville@d3sports.com, or dave.mchugh at d3sports.com. Meant to fix that on the graphic. We'll fix it here shortly. You can also join us on Facebook, facebook.com/Hoopsville, where my Aunt BJ says, it has been a great season. Love watching and we'll miss your show. Well, thank you, Aunt BJ. Don't forget, the podcast will be during the off season. We'll get them out once a month, we hope, if not more often if necessary. You can also join us on YouTube, youtube.com/Hoopsville, where there are a handful of you are tuned in. We appreciate that very much as well. The champions were two programs that really, since everything fell apart in 2020, were penciled in as being contenders for those championships. Hope and Randolph-Macon culminated seasons and years that we've been watching. Matt Snyder puts Hope and Randolph-Macon were the best teams when things shut down in 2020. They're the best teams during the partial season, and they're the best teams this season. We could be talking about two of the greatest dynasties in D3 hoops if we'd had full tournaments. We got that question at the end of the men's side. Where does this Randolph-Macon team compare to some? And I think we'll talk about that in the future for sure on a podcast. But in the meantime, I wonder where the women's program stacks up there. Well, Brian Morehouse is on the show, and I'm sure he's got an opinion on it. Joining us on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville Hotline. And following his senior leader in Kenedy Schoonveld, it is Brian Morehouse. Sir, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks, Dave. Boy, the future's bright with those two in leadership positions, isn't it? Kenedy and Buzz. I mean, yeah. Unbelievable. And, a lot of people talk about being great basketball players. Those two are going to be great spouses, great leaders in the community, and really great at whatever they put their minds to. So well done by the two of them, and two worthy recipients of your National Player of the Year award.
Yeah, I agree, and certainly worthy of the Jostens finalists as well, though I have no idea where that's going to be. That finalist list was who's who. I will say I'm not a super religious man, but those two certainly speak well to their religions as well. Congratulations on the national championship. I know when we talked to you, and I meant to pull this audio too, and I didn't. We'll try and dig it up. But when I talked to you just over 2 years ago on this show, when everything got shut down, it stung because I think you knew you had something special in 2020. Are you amazed you're able to hold on to it until 2022?
No, I'm not, because this group is significantly better now than they were in 2020. The amount of work that they put in each subsequent season, Kenedy Schoonveld was a great player in 2020. She's greater now. And I think the beautiful thing is that this is a program where work ethic, skill development, conditioning, and just playing for the people to your right and your left really, really matters. And I think that as good as we were in 2020, we were probably even better this year. I think there's a real opportunity that we could have run off 3 in a row, but we'll never know. So we're going to be really, really excited about validating what we could do with what we did have this year.
No, it's very possible, but as you said, we'll never know. You also were on the doorstep of an undefeated season. So was Randolph-Macon. They lost by 1 point in overtime to Christopher Newport. You guys had that whole win streak come to a crashing halt and lost the season thanks to trying. You and I didn't get a chance to talk about that on air because we had already talked earlier in the season, I think. But right. What's it like to not only avenge that, but to come that close to perfection? Does that annoy you, or does it just add to the fun?
Adds to the fun, honestly. I mean, and who knows? I mean, a lot of people who are outside of our basketball program would say, oh, it's the best thing that could have ever happened to you. I never think a loss is a good thing. But we learned a lot from it.
Sure.
And maybe because it came in the form of a loss instead of a close victory, maybe we learned more, possibly. I think it's a little bit like cooking a brisket, right? Like you want it to be, it's tricky. It's unacceptable to have it be like dry and tough and everything, but stranger things have happened, and you want it to be perfect, and you learn a lot from sometimes your mistakes. So, when that happens, you just got to learn from it. And I think we learned some really valuable lessons on just some individual skill development that we went to work on the next day. And we were much, much better as the season went along at some very specific things.
Oh yeah, you annihilated teams pretty much the rest of the way. Your next closest game was, of course, Trine. Exactly a month later, you beat them 54-50 in the conference championship. And then your next closest game was Trine in the semifinals, 57-52, getting a sense of a similar scoring with you two programs. If it's not in the 50s, it's not a Hope Trine game. But you guys had a pretty big lead going into that fourth quarter against Trine, big considering the circumstances of a low-scoring affair. I'm not surprised they came back, but they tied it. Were you losing some fingernails?
Nope. I just trust this team. My wife is like, she's been with me to 3 Final Fours now. And, one of the things that she said to me is like, it's so different this year. And in 2006, I didn't know any better, and I had walking pneumonia, and I was near death. And, we're just playing, and it was like an outer body experience my first time. I mean, the next time we're in 2010, it's stressful. We're playing, and I think we got to win because we're playing against what I think is the greatest coach of all time at Division III, Nancy Fahey, trying to validate, probably some of my own coaching by beating her. And that's just the wrong way to go about it. And, this year it was just completely different. I walked in and I said, we're prepared. We're really good. If we get beat, it's because we had a bad quarter and we didn't play well. It's not because we're not good enough or we're not prepared. And I think when you have that, like, there's a certain level of confidence, but also calmness that you can bring to it. And, somebody said, I looked over and like they tied it and you didn't even flinch. Like you were like, oh, okay, here we go. Let's figure this out. I think I got the best players. And so when you got the best players, you got to put them in space to do things that are really good. And, I just, it's funny because people are like, oh man, what were you thinking in the second half? I'm like, I looked at my coaching staff and I go, so you're telling me that we're not going to run any set plays right now. And we're going to go like almost like NBA open gym like, and just say, our players are good, put them in space, let them make basketball decisions and trust them. And Kyle looks at me and he goes, that's what we're going to do. That's what we got to do. And I was like, that goes against a lot of what I believe in as a coach, because you want to be in control.
Yeah.
And I just said, all right, let's roll with it. And then we get in that dang Whitewater game, and I don't think I think it was a good first half. I don't think that we played our best. I don't think we started to compete and rebound until the last 3 minutes of the first half. And then we got into the second half and I looked at Kyle and Cuss and I go, open gym again? And they're like, yep, just keep your mouth shut and let them play. And I was like, okay, here we go.
Is Kyle, by the way, still employed by you?
Huh?
Is Kyle still employed?
Yeah. Well, I did make a comment to him at one point when he recommended a sub. I said, that's the stupidest damn thing I've heard in a long time. And you'll be lucky if you're employed on Monday. No, that's the kind of relationship that we have in our basketball program with our coaching staff. But he made a couple wing dingers of recommendations. And, it's kind of like risky business. It's kind of like you're in the Ozarks in that show, and you're like, don't go there with me. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Just reach into your Yeti and pull out a beverage and shut up, because don't be making stuff up in the national semifinal.
Why not? I mean, can't think of a better time or place, right?
Oh man.
By the way, we should talk. It's Kyle Lurvey, one of your assistant coaches. You also have Collie Carlson, which I always get a kick at watching on the sideline because he's so animated. You have Austin Randall as well in there. You've got your dad, Dean, and you got your daughter, Courtney.
Yeah. No, Courtney is my assistant, but Megan is my daughter.
Right.
But
sorry. Got it backwards. Right. Courtney's the assistant.
Courtney,
yeah. Can't read my own notes.
Yeah. But
bit of a family affair.
We all know, like, okay, so this is the key thing, right? This is what everybody in America needs to know. Like, we all think that we are in charge, right? But what we all know is that Courtney is running the show. And I guarantee you that if you asked anyone on my staff, like, who's really running this thing, they will look at Cust and they will say, Courtney Cust is running the show right now. And they are not wrong. It's funny because we had like one of the biggest timeouts of the year. And we had to dial up something on a baseline, and everybody's like, why weren't you talking to your team? I'm like, because I got Courtney Cust and she runs all of our baselines and all of our sidelines. I just hand her the clipboard and I'm like, I trust you, get us into something good. And that's, I think, the beauty of our coaching staff is that Cully's our defensive coordinator. Courtney runs our baselines and sidelines, what we call our special teams. And then we kind of coordinate it with, Kyle, Courtney, and myself on like the offensive coordinators. So
clearly Kyle just says run open court. I don't think he's coordinating much.
Yeah, Kyle doesn't, Kyle's an Alabama guy. Okay. Like he coached with Nate Oates, right? The guy that's at Alabama right now.
Yeah.
And he coached with him in high school. And so, Kyle just thinks that everything is about putting kids in space and doing skill development and running like your spread offense and just having guys like dunk on people. And I told him, I said, Kyle, we miss far too many layups to consider that dunking on anyone. I said, we got to get to the free throw line, brother. And so, it's a great staff. We have we laugh, we rip on each other constantly. We have Sunday dinners at my house, and people say, what are you doing? How long are you going to be doing this? Like, it's fun. Like, I coach with my friends. I coach with my friends, and the great thing is that Cully and I are the old dudes.
Yep,
we're the crotchety old guys. We're ornery. We're cranky. It's never good enough. It's like, get your butt on the helpline. We're yelling at kids to take charges, and Kyle's like, I don't know, man, 50-50 call right now. That's just a wasted foul. Just let him get a bucket. Let's go down and score at the other end. And then Cully about blows his mind at Kyle, and they start talking data and analytics and points per possessions. And Kyle's like, we need to shoot more threes. And Cully's like, we need to shoot more layups. And, it's just the conversations on our benches and in our coaches meetings they are like Ted Lasso, like.
Oh, that's awesome.
As far as fun.
Just a reminder, you hired them all.
Yeah, and I can fire them all.
Yeah.
And I remind them of that frequently.
They don't seem phased.
They come right back to me and they say, A, we don't get paid enough. And B, like, you're not going to do any better than us. Like, they will just tell us, like, what are your other options? And I shrug my shoulders and say, all right, I'll see you Monday.
By the way, Courtney's technically your boss, isn't she?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, she's the assistant athletic director for events.
Yeah. She doesn't remind me of that, but Cully does a lot. He said, you cannot say that to her. And I said, I didn't say anything. And he said, you said enough that she can fire you on Monday if she wants to. And I'm like, dang it, you're right. I quickly apologize to Courtney and we move on. And I tell her that, she is the coach in waiting at Hope College, and she just, needs for me to wait for my run to end, and she will step in and do much better than I do.
Speaking of runs and where the future may be, what was this run like?
Unbelievable, man. Like 3 years in the making, we just get waxed by Wartburg in the tournament that year before. And Kenedy tells me that she still like wakes up some nights and thinks about like that loss. And they were really good. We were really bad. And we needed to tweak some things, not redo some things. Our program wasn't broken, but we just needed to get back to being intentional about certain things. And then you look at it, we went on one of the more incredible 3-year runs ever. Who knows what the first 2 years would have ended in, but all I know is like every time something was teed up, we hit it out of the park. And for 3 years, you know, I was joking with Cuss today, and I said, you know, we made up a play in the Trine game. We made it up at halftime. We gave it a name, and we ran it 3 times in a row to start the second half and got off to a great start. It is a very unusual team that you have to have incredible veterans on the team for them to look at you and go, got it. Because young kids, they're caught up in the moment. They don't get it. Like they're like, oh wait, where do I have to go? What do I have to do? And I'm like, no, we're running lightning, and you know we're gonna try this, and you know then we're gonna add thunder to it later on. And they're like, hey, okay, we got that. And like the number of things that we made up, like we stole like 2 American sets coming off the Sweet 16. We called one of them Big Blue for Olivia Lett.
Wow.
And we scored on it like 2 times. And so we scored on 4 baseline out of bounds plays on things that we changed against Trine, and we scored on 4 new sets. No, that's the game.
Does that mean you have to get a replica trophy and send it to Olivia?
I've already called her. I've told her, you know, that she's the GOAT, that I am just going to call her up for all my special teams and all my set play needs. Olivia's really good.
Yeah.
Like that woman is, and Milliken is very fortunate to have her.
I agree.
I mean, and if she wants to coach at the D2 or the D1 level, people are crazy not to call her because she is an absolute star in our profession.
I'm selfish. Keep him here in D3, okay?
I know. Me too, but I'm just saying, I mean, it's worked out pretty well for Oregon State to hire a D3 guy.
Oh, yeah.
And Richmond's doing okay.
Richmond's doing all right. There's
Bucknell had a really good year.
Yep.
I'm just saying, like, there's some people out there doing good work.
Yeah. Bucknell men, rough year, but Nate's doing well. By the way, South Carolina just hired a guy who played at Worcester on the men's side, and had a cup of coffee somewhere else. I can't remember where. Oh, he played under Bo Ryan. No, there's a lot of good guys out there, and we could Brad Stevens. I think we'll be talking about Buzz Anthony at some point in the future as well. I mean, I could talk to you forever. I love seeing you in such a great mood. This is so much fun, but I don't want to keep you all night. Pretty sure the rest of your family wants you back. You did mention Courtney's the coach and waiting. How much more you got?
You know, I'll know when I know. Somebody asked Matt the other day, and I said, you know, the day I wake up and I don't look forward to going to the office is the day I'll just walk in and be done. You know, Monday, I took my daughter to the airport at 4 a.m. and came home and looked around. And I was like, well, the dog made it okay for 4 days without me. He'll be okay the rest of the day. And I went into the office, and I love what I do. I love working at Hope. I love coaching. I love what I hope is an impact on 18 to 22-year-olds. You know, I'm 53, but like I feel young. I feel young because I go to work with these people, you know, whether it's the Chaos crew or, you know, the other kids on our team, and like they're dancing, they're making me dance, and they're making me promise to do stuff if we get to the Final Four that I shouldn't agree to.
Are you getting a tattoo?
No. You know, I've made 2 bad statements in my life. One was in 2005 at a volleyball tournament with Julie Henderson, was my senior point guard. And she said, Mo, we're going to the Final Four this year. And I said, we haven't been since 90. I said, we got a ways to go. And she goes, we're going. And she goes, what do you want to bet? And I go, I don't know, whatever. And she goes, we get there, you owe me a tattoo. And I was like, deal. I'll be danged if we don't win that doggone game against DePaul.
Won the title, sir.
We walk into that locker room, and Henderson has the whole squad. No, they're not happy that we won. They're happy that they can say tattoo, tattoo, tattoo. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, you remember in November when you promised at that volleyball tournament? And I go, I don't remember that. And they were like, oh, we do.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang it, I did say that. And I shared that story with our kids last year at the end of the season.
Oh no.
And I just, and whatever. And they're like, would you do that? And I'm like, you get back to a Final Four after all that we've been through the last couple of years, I'm in.
So it's all about the tattoo, is what you're saying. Because in 2010, you must not have made that promise. Didn't get the title.
Nope. No, we didn't make that promise for the 2010 year. The interesting thing about that year is we were really young, if you'll remember. We were not as a veteran as what people thought. And we had Snickers, and she was super young. Cust was a freshman. And one thing that 2010 year taught me is that, like, there's no promises. There were some very interesting things that happened in the next couple of years, like being sent to Texas when you're undefeated. And a couple other things that happened. And, one thing I maybe one of the reasons I enjoyed this year at the Final Four so much is I'm just more grateful for it. I mean, you just don't know if or when you're going to get back. And, that 2010 year, I thought we'd be back in 11 or 12, 13. I mean, we were really good and got knocked out by George Fox and Howard Payne and, some other stuff like that. But I just was walked in. I got on that bus and went to Pittsburgh. And I'm like, I'm not just happy to be here. I want to win, but I am happy to be here. I'm grateful to be here and appreciative. And I think that put me at a certain level of calm during that, which was I think it helped me be a better coach.
I can understand that. Back to the more important thing here, though. 2006, what tattoo did you end up getting?
It was the first year of the DeVos Fieldhouse, and I was one of the big people that pushed for a change in our marketing to go away from the big block H, which I said could be Harvard, Hobart, you name it, and to go with the anchor at center court. And I was a big advocate for that. And so I got an anchor.
All right. What are you getting this time?
This.
Ooh, cool. Very nice.
It was it's sort of been the theme of our team for the last 3 years. It sort of was started up by Casey DeSmit, our point guard, and her roommate Hannah Smith. And it's a lot more than this, but it's basically like you can be a friend and you can be a teammate, but until it's this, it's never going to be anything. And that's a really, really short version of it. And like you'll see our kids, like we win the national championship, and instead of doing this, like they're doing this. And I think it'll be forever a bond that will bond this team together, but also be a big statement for like what our program is all about. You can have really good players. There's super talented teams in the United States every year. But I think that every team that wins it says that there's something that is different than talent that gets them over the top. And to me, like that's what it was, like you asked me like, oh my gosh, you had an 18-point lead. It went down to 0, like, were you panicked? Like, what were you calling? What were you doing? You know what I did? I walked into the timeout that we had and I just looked at them and I'm like, this is why we're winning right here. Let's go. And we ran space, which is really not even a play. It's a fake play. It's open gym. And we scored on it.
I was going to say, it's really Kyle saying we're playing open gym. That was what it was.
And then, Bosco made the biggest bucket of her life.
Yeah.
On the next possession. And then we defended like Hope College defends.
No, Vasco's shot was outstanding. By the way, so you've got 3 Final Four trips and 2 titles. We should point out there's a connection to the other title, even though you weren't there.
Yes. My wife was in the women's basketball program at the time.
It's pretty cool.
So anybody that thinks it's me, it's not.
I was going to say, wife. This means she technically has more rings than you do.
Yes, that is very true. That is very, very true.
Yeah, very cool. Hey, sir, I'd love to chat more, but I'll let you go. But thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it. I'll ask you this before we give you the final word. How much emotion was coming out of you at the end? Because I saw the camera shot while everybody was celebrating, and you just had a look like just everything leaving you, all in that one moment as you're wiping your hands across your face. How much was leaving you?
That was everything. I mean, I won't say it's a burden that left me, but like the opportunity and the pressure over the last 3 years was unbelievably hard and a good hard. I'm not sitting here complaining about I had to bear the burden of having a really good team. I'm not saying that, but to walk into this season and I mean, honestly, let's be honest about let's be real. Like if we don't get to a Final Four this year, people are like, you know, what was it the last 2 years? You know, and then you get there, and if we don't win it, I think people are like, you know, I just think that the opportunity / burden that we carried with us since the season got canceled in the Sweet 16 a couple years ago, that's what came gushing out of me at that moment.
Sure.
And I was just so dang happy for these kids who had carried that with them. And we had faced it head on, and we had talked about the pressure from outside. And we had faced it head on. And I just think that's what life is all about, right? It's about whether it's in your marriage, whether it's at work, life is hard. It's not easy. Like people need to quit telling young people that, you know, if you work hard, good things are going to happen. No, life is hard. And the sooner that they realize that, and it's like about bucking up and like facing challenges head on and saying, I'm going to defeat this. I'm going to find a way. I'm going to make this happen instead of taking the easy way out and making excuses. Like that's what this team did, is they didn't want to have an excuse at the end. Like they just said, we're going to find a way and we're going to do it together.
Well, congratulations, sir. I know it was a long time in coming, but certainly amazing to watch, and enjoyed every moment of it from afar. As always, we give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who tuned in?
You know, this, your platform and this broadcast and D3 Hoops, we may not always get everything that we need from the NCAA. We may not get everything that we need from even our conferences and things like that. But the one thing that is always a constant is D3 Hoops. And I've been in this thing long enough to know that I'm incredibly grateful for what you and your crew does to make D3 Hoops public. I think it's always relevant, but I think you give us a public platform to show what we're all about, to tell the Buzz story, to tell the Kenedy story, is just incredible. And so I know you had T-shirts for sale, right? You got those T-shirts for sale, and I didn't order one because I didn't want to jinx myself because I'm that superstitious. But I will, if there are still T-shirts available, I will be ordering some and supporting D3 Hoops because I am forever grateful for you helping to make our sport relevant, the women's side relevant. You know, a year ago, D1 blows up. D1 blows up because of the inequities. Never been inequitable on D3hoops.com. Never. It's always been equal. giving the women the same opportunity as the men. And I will never forget that because you guys do it the right way.
Thanks, Brian. Means a lot. Shirts are definitely available. Buy as many as you would like. There's lots of options. I have a feeling you have an eye on one.
I do.
It was there for individuals like you, sir. You enjoy that. You send me a pic. I want to see what it looks like.
I will do that. I will do that.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Dave.
Enjoy the off season. I know we'll catch up and we'll talk down the road, but take care of yourself. We'll look forward to talking to you.
Sounds good, Dave. Thanks for all you do.
Thanks, bud. Take care. Brian Morehouse joining us on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville Hotline. There's the shirts he's talking about. Not the design I think he's talking about in particular, but those are the generic designs. You can check them out online. We'll talk about that in a bit. We're going to come back with Ryan Scott and Pat Coleman as we recap the championship weekends coming up. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the NABC studios. More after this.
These are your teams, your players, your community of fans. This is where they play, where they practice, where you cheer. At every meet, every event, every game. Your community is passionate, dedicated, supportive. You know the tension of a close game and the thrill of the win. So while you're cheering, keep an eye out for anything out of the ordinary. If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
I used to never really talk. Ever. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. It helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else is speechless.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
I learned a lot of valuable lessons playing college football. I never thought about the health benefits of exercise until I actually started to talk to coaches in college. It's not only just for performance, it's for life. My coaches instilled the importance of well-being, not only building up strength, mental health, getting enough sleep, eating properly is all what it is to be healthy. I decided that I want to go into personal trainer and share my knowledge that I obtained in college about physical and mental well-being.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody, as we roll into what is our final segment of the regular season. We will be to podcasts after this during the summer, knock on wood. I'm already talking with the guys about one idea that Ryan brought up. We don't need to necessarily bring that up now, but I can tell you we're got some ideas. Who knows? It may not even be me hosting the whole time. I've got lots of ideas. People tell you. I got other ideas for other shows that I'd like to do. So we'll see how the summer goes, but we'll figure on average one a month until the next season, the 22-23 season, rolls along. If you got questions for us here at the end, Pat Coleman and Ryan Scott will join me in a moment. You can email us. I'm just giving my regular email address because I think the Hoopsville one is buggy again. So dave.mchugh@d3sports.com. You can also tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can also join us on Facebook, facebook.com/Hoopsville. We're live simulcasting the show. Also, youtube.com/Hoopsville. Julie says, great job, Mo. It's been fun watching your amazing career. And Greg Chandler also. This is awesome, Mo. Great comments on our last segment with Brian Morehouse, which was fun to say the least. Speaking of fun, let's just get right to it. Joining us on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville hotline to talk about the basketball season, or tournaments really that were. I have a feeling we'll recap the seasons on a future podcast as we've had time to simmer on it. Pat Coleman, Ryan Scott joining me. Pat with a nice D3 logo, Pat, showing off the skill set of the Zoom. Ryan joining us as well. Guys, thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it. We should just point out, Gordon was hoping to join us, just unable to tonight, which kind of gets me to my point that a future podcast may be where we kind of recap the season after we've all let it simmer a tad bit. Pat, we'll start with you because you did get a chance to go out to the semifinals in Pittsburgh before coming to the championships, thanks to the scheduling the way it was. Your reactions on, well, a facility we'd never been to, an event, a couple teams, the matchups, etc. What was your general reaction to the women's side of things?
Well, first off, I just want to say that, after 2 years, I finally can figure out some things in my Zoom game, right? I mean, that's not,
right.
As I go overboard, man, all I do is slap a logo in the background and light myself really heavily. The women's semifinals that I was at on the Thursday evening, just amazing venue. I really felt like, so this is on Duquesne University's campus. It's their on-campus arena. It seats, I think I heard that it seats 2,000. I thought maybe it might be a little bit more than that, but not a ton. It's a really good size for this event. Seats all around, so you still get that arena feel. You've got a lower bowl. You've got, some luxury suites, as you might expect at the low D1 level. That's what, that's where, for those who are really unfamiliar, that's where Duquesne plays, is at the low D1 level. I thought it was really just ideal for this event. Certainly not hurt by the fact that, crowd from Hope, crowd from UW Whitewater, some crowd from Trine, places really hopping during the Hope Trine game. Whitewater fans were, the ones that were there on Thursday were loud and they were into it. And, they were a couple of pretty good games, which never hurts. And, I've been telling people, anybody who asks basically, is that I would love to see that arena and that organizing group in the rotation mix as often as they want to be. I think they were supposed to have two of the four, right? They were supposed to split the other two with the Salem folks at Roanoke College, and obviously no argument that those folks also know how to put on a really fantastic championship event. So if we bounced back and forth between those two for the near future, I think it would be amazing. And of course, there were great basketball games. It was high level Division III women's basketball, which is always awesome to watch. That Whitewater Amherst game ended in a pretty memorable moment where, Coach Carrie Carollo cannot watch her freshman daughter taking the free throws that ended up clinching the game for them. And then, Hope has in the other semifinal, Hope has this 18-point lead against the team that has been its most competitive conference rival over the course of the past few years. Coughs up that lead and then holds on to win that game. And, Coach was talking, you were talking about that little Voskuhl pull up in the lane. If she does not hit that shot, I don't know that they advance. They're back on their heels. Things were not working for them. Everything was going right for Trine, and that shot kind of really stemmed and turned the tide. So just a fantastic weekend. Well, I was only there for the semis, but a fantastic night of Division III women's basketball, and I look forward to it being there again in the future.
Yeah, no, well said. I agree with you on a good chunk of that. By the way, I maybe would throw in Columbus and Capital, maybe.
Obviously I didn't attend, right? But it's at a good location, that's for sure. I like the Duquesne, obviously, is a little bit more of a big time gym. I don't love it being on a D3 campus, but as long as it's.
You mean a D1 campus?
No, actually, I don't love it being on a D3 campus because if it's just a gym, and I don't mean to say that about the Capitol Center because it's a nice gym, but it is still just a gym. Duquesne wraps around, Roanoke's, the Krager Center's new, right? So it's got a little bit more elevated feel to it. I actually don't mind it not being on a D3 campus, actually.
By the way, just stalling a bit because I was trying to call up the Carrie Carollo picture. to show here. You guys are audio's gonna drop for a second here.
Picture that I'm holding it up here.
Yeah, there we go.
Like we're on the
So
show, right?
there's the pic of Coach Carollo not looking at the what's going on-sies with her daughter's shooting. That was just amazing.
It is amazing. So I'm sitting next to Gordon Mann. We're on press row. And he says, I don't think she's watching the shot. And I look over because I'm watching the shot. I'm not watching Coach Carollo. I turn my head over there and it's like, oh, wow, this is the moment of the game. I had already written, this is the journalism thing you do, right? I'd written about 3/4 of the game story already. And I'm like, oh man, I've got to throw most of that out, rewrite, 6 to 8 new paragraphs at the top, get quotes in the post game about that moment. And then I get back to my seat and I write the rest of it. And somewhere, a little bit after halftime of the Hope Trine game, I'm done with my story. I go and I look in the D3 photography folks' photo galleries and photos that they've sent us, the folks that we hire out to shoot a bunch of this stuff. And I see that photo and the photographer is walking by basically right as I see it. And I yell Dan Hunter's name. I'm gonna name check Dan Hunter as it's just an amazing photo. And, I say to him something that I cannot repeat on the air, let's say, if we're being polite.
Fair.
It's just an amazing photo. Just to have that to perfectly encapsulate that moment, because most of the times the photographer is watching the same thing that you and I are. We're watching the free throw shooter. And I was hoping for a shot of the free throw. Frankly, I would almost never run a photo of a free throw, but it was an important moment. And instead I had the reaction shot. It's like, I'm getting super inside baseball and I got to let Ryan talk here in a second. But if you remember the 1975 World Series, the shot is not supposed to be of Fisk waving the ball fair. The shot is supposed to be of the ball going out. But the camera operator in the Green Monster at Fenway is distracted by a rat at his feet or something like that. So he doesn't track the ball. He tracks Fisk. And that is the epic shot that everybody remembers of the 1975 World Series. I always bring it back to baseball. That's the shot that I'll remember of that semi.
Yeah, I reacted in our Slack channel much about the way you couldn't react there, and I'm not going to repeat it here either because it's not allowed. But yeah, I had the same reaction when I saw that picture. Fast forward, we'll talk about the championship in a bit. We move on. We had some games on Friday at the men's site, and Ryan, you spent a little more time than we did there at Fort Wayne. They definitely missed that event. They were geared up and ready to go, and we ended up with some dandies of games. Even though the scores didn't indicate it, I thought they were pretty competitive and well fought out for the most part.
Yeah, and before we move on, just to watch the women's games, even I think that gym being very new or renovated, I'm not sure which, but it's set up for TV, right? It's set up for the cameras that come in to do this sort of thing, and it just looks great, and it's not something we have at most of our D3 facilities, right? That they're set up for television, and I think that does make a difference for everybody who gets to watch it at home. But yeah, Fort Wayne, I mean, it was. They had all the time to prepare. Again, leaps and bounds, I felt like better than the first time around.
Yes.
Lots of holes had been plugged and they were really ready for us in a way that they weren't the first time. Just felt like the city was a lot more alive. Like my memories of 3 years ago were that no one was there, like just in the city. The streets were empty and stuff. And there was people around and it just felt a lot livelier. And we got those great games. And I think partly because of the way Randolph-Macon plays. I think Josh Merkel said at one point, he doesn't look at the scoreboard. And I think if you didn't look at the scoreboard, you wouldn't realize that they were such huge deficits in any of the games because everyone was playing competitively and it really came down to who was making shots and who wasn't. It wasn't about, one team visually being that much better than the other.
No, I agree with you. I know during the semifinal in their game, I looked down at one point. I'm like, we got a really good one here against Marietta. It's 20 points. Like, huh? How'd that happen? I agree. It was. Listen, I don't want to dwell on it. Obviously, Wabash had two things that came together in one moment that I think ended up kind of derailing their run. One, losing Jesse Hall after the first weekend resulted in not having him available to step in when Schreiber was ejected from the game. That ended up creating a large hole for Wabash, Pat, or as everybody else likes to say, Wabash or whatever.
Wabash.
It became, one moment ended up showing bigger kink or the bigger hole in the armor, as it were, for Wabash, and it unfortunately is how that season ends for them. But they had an incredible season. They really did.
Yeah, I think too. Elmhurst did a good job of keeping Jack Davidson from getting shots, and Williams also in the Sweet 16 did a good job of keeping Davidson from hitting shots, but other guys knocked them down. Amani Jones hit a bunch of shots. Watson hit some shots. Busilla came off the bench and hit some shots in that round of 16, round of 8. And, they just didn't have anybody else. Nothing else really went in for them either when Davidson was dishing off. But yeah, also obviously lack of inside presence. And I know it's unanimous among this group, but I know it's not necessarily unanimous among the fan base. But that ejection was definitely justified.
Yeah, the fan base seemed to disagree, and a few handful of other individuals. Otherwise, large majority of those I talked to thought that was the easiest call in the world.
If you watch it and you're not a Wabash fan, I think it's pretty obvious. But of course, there were 4,900 people there that night, and the vast majority of them wearing red. So you can kind of understand where the atmosphere and the thoughts were in the building.
By the way, mad respect to everybody who showed up. I think, and I've been saying this on the show off the cuff because I forgot to look it up, but I believe the only D3 game that has a larger attendance in the tournament, Pat, is the D1 Final Four weekend in 2013. Am I right?
Right.
Well, I definitely think there were more people than that in the building, but the official attendance for that game is marked only at like 3,570.
Oh, yeah, there was a lot more than that in the building. That game.
On our site, it's 6,000 something, I think.
Right. The Mary Hardin Baylor, we're getting way in the weeds here, but the Mary Hardin Baylor website says like 6,700, but I went back to triple check and it still says in the NCAA record book, I can't remember if it's 3,750 or 3,570.
There's a lot more than that.
Oh, we got screwed hard on that. There were way more people in the arena for that.
That place was
that
that place was hopping. It was really impressive.
That said, that day I bet 5,000 or 6,000. Yeah.
Yeah, 4,900 for the semifinal day sold. I don't think we had 4,900 in the building.
I think we might have. I mean, obviously not all at the same time, right?
Well, that's what I was kind of getting at. Was we certainly didn't get them all at the same time, and there was a little bit of baseball attendance, I think, in that they may have sold some that didn't show up, but then that happens. But I'm not trying to disparage. I'm just saying sometimes I kind of wish all of those numbers were in the building at the same time. But that place was loud, and it was fun. It wasn't a negative. Sometimes we've been in loud events and it hasn't been great. This one was just fun. I really enjoyed Friday.
Yeah, I mean it felt like what it was. I mean, it was two really big games, and we had a lot of fans that showed up. Everyone was wondering whether Elmhurst was, I guess their reputation maybe is they haven't always traveled for other things, but they were there, and I thought disproportionately loud in both games. They were making a lot more noise than the number of people they had you would expect. So that was really good. And the fans were excited to be with each other. They were excited to be there. I think the people who follow it all the way to the end like that really know their stuff and they know what they're doing and they're enjoying the weekend. And we had great basketball.
I think there were loud vocal fan bases for all four teams.
Yeah,
right.
I think that second semifinal, the Wabash Elmhurst game, they announce Wabash and you get this huge roar from the crowd, right? And it's really a roar. And they announce Elmhurst and you get this really loud cheer also. But to be the choir nerd for a second, it's like the Wabash roar is like baritone. It's this big loud thing. And the Elmhurst roar is like sopranos. It's all of these students making all that noise, so much noise. It was a lot of fun. I was glad that the Elmhurst fans, even though they were probably outnumbered 10-1, made a ton of noise, and that made it a lot of fun too.
By the way, Ryan, you were disappointed Wabash didn't have its cheerleaders on the sideline, and you were serious about that.
No, I knew what I was doing. I made the joke that no one laughed at several times.
I couldn't resist.
All three other teams brought cheerleaders, which I think is the first time since I've been going that has happened.
It might be, maybe.
Yeah.
No, I was
paid
kidding.
a lot of attention to.
I couldn't resist.
I'm more of a pep band guy than a cheerleader guy.
Yeah, and by the way, Wabash brought their pep band, which is pretty darn cool. Obviously not.
They could They could keep bringing that pep band back. That'd be just fun.
And the pep band continued to be peppy even when they were down by a lot.
Yeah, no, sure. Yeah,
they kept the atmosphere going.
Yep, they played it out. They absolutely did. Randolph-Macon, listen, they're damn good. I knew they were good, but it seems like they found another level this tournament and just absolutely manhandled some really good basketball teams, Pat.
It's just, it's basically a dismantling, right? It's so many things that, taking away the things that someone wants to do to you, right? The Hal Nunnally days, the Coach Rhodes days, and Josh Merkel now too. Everybody who comes through there is just very defense oriented, and I think that's what we saw. Frankly, I'm kind of just stealing words out of Ryan's mouth because Ryan saw Randolph-Macon earlier in the season and picked all these things out. But that's basically what it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that they play defense and they play tough and physical. I do think the championship game was, Elmhurst was just missing open shots, which is, you kind of felt bad even during the game because they were not winning, but I think it would have been a little bit closer. What do they shoot? Like 24% or something like that. And there were a number of shots that Rhodey and those guys make on a very regular basis that were just not falling in that game. And then of course they empty the benches at the end, and Macon's bench, the end of their bench is really good. And they scored a couple of buckets there at the end to move it up at least 3 or 4 more points. So I do think 30 is a big number, and it's a number that's representative of how dominant they were, but I'm not sure that game was quite a 30-point game in the end of things.
I forgot to ask Buzz, but we were running out of time. He knew he was coming out, and I remember on the call thinking to myself, well, he's going to take the last shot. Like, this is his career here. And then he passes it off, and I thought to myself, oh, there's Buzz being Buzz. He's going to give it up. And then he gets it back and buried a three-pointer in front of their bench. I mean, absolutely buried it to then get subbed out, as Josh called timeout immediately. It just felt like it was a Buzz Anthony moment in a nutshell with how he is. He gives it up and he ends up still getting it back and taking advantage of the moment. He was an incredible player to watch, Ryan, throughout his career.
Yeah, I mean, I've been telling everybody, I said, if, he's 23 years old right now. If he were 6'3" instead of 5'10", he'd be in the NBA right now. I really do believe that. Just his ability to lead a team, to handle the ball, to see the floor, I mean, he's talked about it a bunch, right? Being a 5'10" white guy, he's had to overcome a lot of stuff. And at some point, size does come into play, right? With how good you're going to be. But he has all the tools that it takes to be a great leader. And you mentioned it when you talked to him, right? That he'll just take that ball down in the middle of the paint with 3 guys standing around him and just be calm as anything, just waiting for the right angle to come up and the guys to move to the right spot. And somebody put up on I think it was Zach Snyder on Twitter, just said, when you play with him, he's going to control the game. And you just have to accept that and then work around it. And no one's been able to do it.
No, nearly impossible.
I think that might have been Greg Thomas, for what it's worth. I think that might have been Wally Wabash.
Yeah, it might have been.
But either way,
I'm misattributed. Sorry.
No, but
that's all right. Nice to have Greg there too. We have all of our Around the Nation guys at the same time.
Yeah, we had a nice staff there, to say the least. But Pat, it just, we're going to save this for a podcast. I don't want to get into the debate now, but it raises a question: how good was this Randolph-Macon squad compared to the history of D3? And we'll jump into that in detail later, but you start percolating on that and you start thinking about it. You're like, geez, we really, unfortunately, the pandemic kind of robbed us maybe from something even more special. Granted, you got to play the games. I don't want to jump out too far on that, but still amazing.
Yeah, it's really as if Randolph-Macon just won the 2020/21/22 national championship with an asterisk. I mean, we talk about it a little bit with Hope, and I think Coach Morehouse mentioned it, and, it's been talked about with Randolph-Macon too, that we have to remember that when we're awarding mythical national titles or whatever, without the extra year from COVID eligibility, most of these teams are not together here in this year.
Fair
right?
point.
So we can't award them all 3 championships, as it were, but, I feel like with with both Randolph-Macon and Hope, you can really think about they probably should have either the 2020-21 or the maybe not the 2019-20 championship, but Randolph-Macon's obviously still well alive in that one too. They definitely had an opportunity to win 2. I just want to caution people against automatically awarding them 3 because, Buzz Anthony wouldn't be here this year. Right. Voskuhl and Schoonveld wouldn't be here this year without the extra year of COVID eligibility. So I want to put that minor asterisk on there.
Sure.
But yeah.
Agreed.
I mean, there was a fan who asked me right after the game, was like, where does this stack up against the best teams ever? I was like, man, of all the things that I've thought about, that was not something I had thought about. And we definitely have to think about it outside of the North Park championships. Where does this team stack up? And I think, fodder for another conversation.
Well,
there's possibilities there.
I think certainly when we compare it to the rest of the teams, right? I mean, that's what we saw in this tournament, that there was not much competition for them against the teams this year, right? If we're not just stacking up total talent or how these teams would play against each other, if you're just looking at how dominant they were in their seasons, there's not a lot of teams that were able to do what this Randolph-Macon squad was able to do.
Yeah, Randolph-Macon a couple points away from a perfect season. I hope 8 points away from a perfect season and knocking on the door of breaking the famed record of Nancy Fay and WashU. By the way, speaking of which, interesting talking about 3 championships in a row and what Hope could have done. Nancy Fay, of course, retired. And she is that coach in that fabled run of WashU. So the timing's interesting, to say the least.
Yeah. If I just go back really quickly to one team that was pretty dominant on its road to the championship as well. I think about the 05 Stevens Point team. That's the second one.
Yeah.
So they beat U of R by 24 in the championship game. They beat York by 23 in the semifinals. They beat Puget Sound. They beat Trinity of Texas by just 6 in the round of 8. They beat Puget Sound by 18 in the round of 16, and they crushed Lawrence by 24, and they had a first round bye. That's the kind of they made a similar mockery of that Final Four.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Kelso and Bennett and that group. Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's generally considered, at least in the last 25 years or so, to be the best
Certainly
team overall that we saw. So
yeah, seems like the most dominant performance, right? I don't know what to think of when we have this conversation more formally. We'll have to think about how we deal with the 2 separate Platteville back-to-backs and that sort of thing. But they're neither one of those, if I remember correctly, really blew teams out the way that 05 Stevens Point team did, and the way, of course, Randolph-Macon did this past few weeks.
We went through the scores earlier with Merkel. Closest game was 16, 23 points on Sweet 16, Elite 8, and then just annihilated teams there in the Final Four. And again, I think I said it right on. It was Duke UNLV ties the largest championship game result of any division, which is
right. That's also a 30-point game, but it's not a 75-45 game. It's a much higher scoring game. I mean, Randolph-Macon outscored Elmhurst by 167% or something like that. My math is a little rusty.
Well, I went back and looked, right? It was the winning shot was made before the first media timeout of the second half. So, I mean, they had already scored more than 45 points with 16 minutes left to go in the game.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
That's disgusting.
You could call it that, yes.
Oh, by the way, Matt Snyder and Matt and Zach might be the big Hoopsville fanatics. I'm starting to figure out. They are watching far more than I realize. Zach was tweeting at us earlier. Matt has retweeted Zach's tweet from a couple days ago. When you play Randolph-Macon, you will not control the game.
Who's right?
Buzz Anthony will control the game, and you better figure out how to deal with that.
All right. My apologies. It's good to get fact checked live.
I actually, reading it again, I love the absolute frankness of it.
Well, and that's what happened.
Deal.
I mean,
oh
yeah.
Hey, before we let you go, gotta talk women. Hope, listen, Brian Morehouse talked about it, but they kind of put their foot down in the second half, really, even the fourth quarter against Whitewater. I made a joke earlier. Well, last time Whitewater played for a championship, they were at Hope. This time they were playing Hope. It still didn't work out for them. Hope was just too damn good, Pat. And that Shrine game was basically their biggest challenge, and they knew it. And once they were done with that, they were going to get done with everything else.
I just really enjoyed listening to Coach Morehouse. Of course, not just say all the things that we need for our next marketing round,
right?
Or talk about laughing and ripping each other constantly in terms of their assistant coaches, which I think is basically what we do. So that's cool. But also just how not afraid to just steal bits and pieces from the playbooks of all the teams that they played on the way there. That was a lot of fun. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know, right? I mean, you never know really what goes on inside a locker room, and things were, the scoring column a little different for Hope on Saturday than it was for a lot of games this season. I mean, shoot. I mean, I voted Trine 2 in my final ballot, and I voted Amherst 3, and it looked like that was pretty much the consensus because Trine had beaten them once out of 4 tries, and that's more than anybody else did. And I did similarly in the men's bracket. I voted Christopher Newport not 2, but I voted them 3, right behind Marietta, to Elmhurst 4, Wabash 5. Anyway, I've is trying the second best team, and then maybe it was a little easier with Whitewater, perhaps, but I don't feel like it's not significant enough to make a huge difference about it. They just pulled away, which is a thing that they do and have done, and will one day do again. I'm quite certain of it.
Very good point.
Just the depth of the talent they had.
Yeah.
That's what showed out, right? That you get to the end of the game and they just had more to give, and it's the balance, right? That you'd think maybe they could minimize turnovers a little bit. And, Brian was talking about wanting to be more in control and call more set plays. And maybe you could be a little more dominant that way, but you wouldn't be able to play 10 or 12 and do that style, right? You got to leave them open to run and use the strengths and the depth that they have. And that's what they did effectively the whole year.
I think one of the big differences for Whitewater in that championship game is they just weren't able to get any points off the bench. Literally just 2 points from their bench. And Maggie Troush had a pretty good game in the semifinal. She hit she hit a 3 early when they really needed it. She hit a 3 late. And she just, she struggled. She played 28 minutes. She committed 3 fouls. She turned the ball over twice and was held scoreless. So that's kind of one of the big differences that I saw between those 2 games.
Well, and even the watching, because I could only see it. I wasn't there in person. After the semis, I thought that Whitewater would have some size and be able to maybe do something inside. And then when you see them on the floor together in the championship game, you realize Hope's really big too. Like they have all the depth. They've got the scoring. They're tall. They were the bigger team. They were the faster team. I think Whitewater did an amazing job to stick with them as long as they did.
Yeah, good point. And a team that, there's some nice pieces for that Whitewater team. There's still some nice pieces for that Hope team that's going to return. Same with Randolph-Macon and everybody else. We'll have fun looking ahead when we do get that opportunity.
Those 6 through 10 players, and frankly the 11 through 15s get a ton of playing time for Hope in the course of the MIAA season. So yeah, they're not going to necessarily go away right away.
Nope. But good tournament all in all. Like I said, we'll do probably a little more formally on a podcast where we get to kind of sit back and look at the season without the gut shot reactions from the weekend already. But it was a fun season, Pat.
God, I mean, I said this so many times to people just in the course of the last couple of weeks, but it was a season, first off, right? I mean, just being able to have one. And I know I said this way back in November. I said it in December in Las Vegas. I'm just happy to have gotten to have a relatively normal season. Obviously, there were still a bunch of games canceled over holiday break, but it doesn't affect the integrity of the season or the integrity of the championship. And that's frankly all I cared about, was just getting back and doing the damn thing. Be honest with you, I need this shot of adrenaline every 52 weeks for 3 weeks out of basketball. So it was really flagging the last couple of years without it.
I hear that. Ryan, I know you probably watch more games than Pat and I combined, even though we do our best to try. You always seem to outmatch us by a long shot. How fun was it for you?
This was a really fun year. That it can be a slog in the middle trying to do and cover all the things that we do. And I didn't feel that way this year, right? It was a joy to just be able to have the games and go through. It felt like the end came too soon, right? And that's a really good feeling to have. And as much as I regret, I really feel like that those 16 teams that we left on the board back in 2020, that was probably the deepest tournament field that I have seen since I've been following it. The 1 through 16 were all really, really good. And in a sense, I feel sad that we missed it. But at the same time, we've now got that lore, right? That's part of the history of D3 now, that we had this tournament that didn't get to finish with all of these really great teams. And we had great performances again. A lot of that is carried through, and these teams have been able to prevail, and we're going to continue to move forward.
Yeah, you get a good point. And by the way, I'm very glad well, no, leave that for another time. Let's just say Ryan did some prognosticating after that 2020 tournament was pulled off the rails. I'm glad you did the prognosticating then versus doing it in hindsight. I thought about that the other day. But looking forward to whenever we pull that out. I haven't
That'd be March of 2025, Dave. I already have it in a March of 2025 folder.
So should we explain this before we go?
Yeah, I think you're probably.
Well, I didn't want to give
part of my withdrawal after the 2020 season, and part of my processing that loss, right, is I actually went and predicted the way that I do for the tournament preview, those last 16 teams all the way down through the final. I wrote, game predictions and who would win all the way through. And we've buried it in a vault for 5 years. At this point, I hardly remember who I picked. So it'll be a surprise to everyone by the time we get around to 2025.
I haven't read it in a while either. I'm just guessing based on history. You probably picked Yeshiva.
I did pick them to win one game.
Yeah.
That's what I keep bringing up
ruined it.
When everyone says that Randolph-Macon would have a three-peat. I said I didn't think they were going to win that Sweet 16 game 2 years ago.
Well, I have not read it at all, but now you've just given away the one piece I didn't know.
I do remember who I had winning, but maybe I'll forget by 2025.
Speaking of which, before I let you guys go, and Buzz Anthony brought it up, the Atlanta banner hanging in Fort Wayne was an interesting touch. They had the D1, D2, or the D2, D3 logo, and then they had a date of March 12, 2020. Part of me it was a nice nod to what had not been able to take place. Another part of me was like, okay.
So on Thursday, when I was there for media day all day by myself, that was the first thing I mentioned to one of the unnamed committee members. And the response I got was they asked us if it would be okay to put up, and we said yes. And we weren't quite realizing how big it was. I think it dominated things a little more than maybe they had anticipated.
Yeah. Our camera guys on Friday were a little infatuated with it too, but for the NCAA broadcast, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. It looks like an accident or a mistake. And I can understand what it was trying to get across. It maybe needed some more words to get that across. And yes, it dominates that backsplash there. Holy shnikes.
It'd be nice to get them the banners that Salem had that commemorates all the champs.
Or I'll be honest with you, Dave, some of those were hanging for a while and they were looking old.
Oh, sure.
Faded. So
I didn't mean they had to get those banners. I just mean.
Okay.
Let's get some new ones.
Let's get them some banners.
Let's get new ones.
Yeah. Let's get them some banners. Let's do that. Let's recognize the champs that have come in the past.
They did that for football as well, by the way. They all that's at their own expense.
Yep, absolutely.
So somebody else has to have to care and be that invested in the championship going forward to make that happen again.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And there's 4 more years of Fort Wayne, so maybe
there is. We're there, as you just said at the beginning of the show. We're through that cycle now, where only 2 of the 4 got played, but. We're into the new cycle moving forward, and we'll be there till 2026. I can't actually remember where we're at for women next year, other than we're in Dallas for the championship game. But I think it's Salem, but I'm not positive about that.
The last story that I have in front of me is still the 2019 through 2022 one. So
Yeah, I know where to find it, but I'm not going to go dig it up. We'll find it another time. I'm going to wrap it up there, guys, because we'll talk more about the season on a later date and get more reactions to that. And we'll do another show, maybe talking about where, not the holding show, but talk about where Randolph-Macon sits in the history, and really maybe where Hope sits in that history as well. Will be a good conversation to be had. But we'll let you guys go. But I appreciate you coming on the shows when you could, Ryan, especially yourself, appearing as much as you did. To help add more context and add a different voice to the show. I really do appreciate that this year. And I can't remember if I got you guys swag bags. I had the fear tonight that I didn't, and if I didn't, I did. Okay. Well, in that case,
I got one.
Good. Well, I feel better because I actually thought I forgot because I was going to say, I'll get you one. But in the meantime, Ryan, any final thoughts on the season finale here, sir?
Just glad that we got the season in. Glad that we had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the trip to Fort Wayne, and I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Well said, Pat.
Yeah, I think pretty similarly. I was glad to see that two of the programs that were there at the beginning of the break ended up being the ones that were holding up the trophies at the end. So I feel like maybe that's some slight consolation for some of the things that we lost by not having 2 championships in a row. So I feel good about that. And now I'm going to feel really good about going back and finishing editing that football podcast, which is on my other screen that we recorded while in Fort Wayne.
That was pretty impressive.
I just looked it up. 2023 Women's Basketball Championship will be in Hartford, Connecticut at Trinity.
That's right.
Right.
We ran that. Yeah, I remember that story.
So homecoming for Gordon Mann.
So they get the Elite Eight Final Four, I'm assuming.
I would guess because they're going to
Dallas.
They're combined in Dallas. So
yeah. Well, we'll see how it plays out.
We'll send so that will be Riley Zayasville then. That's good.
Oh yeah, Riley can just cover it for us. Riley, it's all you, buddy. We're just not going to show up. Good luck. By the way,
he is eager. That guy is eager to do it.
He is.
So.
And hat tip, man. They drove back all day Sunday to get back to Texas. That was a long haul starting, and they told me at 3 a.m. I beat them home for dinner. I didn't think that was actually going to be possible with the way my timing works sometimes. But hats off to Riley and his dad. Nice to meet them. And hope they're on board for a long time because Riley's a good dude, writes good stuff. Pat, did I get final thoughts from you?
You did, but now I'm wondering from Ryan if the story has the rest of that cycle.
The page I found has every NCAA championship for every division listed chronologically, so it would be hard to find the rest of them right now.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Hey, gentlemen, thanks so much. We'll look forward to getting you on podcast down the road, talk more about the season that was and start looking ahead to the season that is, and enjoy a little bit of downtime in the meantime. And look forward to catching up. Yeah, right. Maybe some sleep. And look forward to catching up with you guys down the road. Thanks, as always, for being on the show. Appreciate it. And I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
See you guys.
Thanks for what you do for Division III basketball.
Oh, thanks, Pat. You too. Pat Coleman, Ryan Scott, join us on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville Hotline. Appreciate them joining there throughout the season. That's going to wrap it up, folks. I want to thank Josh Merkel from Randolph-Macon, Brian Morehouse from Hope, and, of course, Buzz Anthony and Kenedy Schoonveld from Randolph-Macon and Hope, respectively. A reminder, Jostens Trophy finalists, winners, will be announced later this week. We'll find out if it's Buzz and Kenedy or if it's 2 other individuals representing Division III. I want to thank their sports information directors as well, Alan, of course, at Hope, and Phil at Randolph-Macon for all their help, not only today, but throughout the season as well. Again, a reminder, we'll switch to podcast format in the off season, starting with one mid or so April, and then we'll go from there, one a month, unless we feel like there's something we want to get put out there that's a little bit more timely. It may not always be me hosting, but we'll be the Hoopsville badge. So we hope you'll tune in for those and enjoy them along the way. If you miss any of the archives, you can certainly enjoy them as well. And thanks to Pat Coleman and Ryan Scott for being on the air, but also thanks to Pat Coleman, Ryan Scott, Gordon Mann, Bob Quillman, Riley, who else? There's so many guys. Oh, geez, Matt Snyder, of course, came on the show. So many individuals who came on this show throughout the season, outside of the coaches and student athletes that we had on the show as well. that help make this show all the much better. We certainly get a lot of credit and a lot of recognition for the work we do, but we can't do it if we aren't getting guests to come on and talk and getting individuals to be part of this program to help us fill the space and not just hear me yammer away. And of course, all the sports information directors who also help us get guests or suggest guests or whatever the case may be. So to everybody who's been a part of this season, really appreciate it. We have always thought this is the 19th season. We're moving forward thinking that it's the 19th season. So should we be back on the air in November 2022? It will be our 20th season, and that is not something I say lightly. It is mind-blowing to me that we're still on the air with this show. So thank you to all of those who tune in as well, and to all those who have supported the show. D3Hoops.com, the National Association of Basketball Coaches, Women's Basketball Coaches Association, Blue Frame Technology, also Jersey Genius and Chalk Talk Sports who came on board. Sports Sense, thank you to them. And the many others who have supported. We do have t-shirts. We will tweet the heck out of that link for the next week or so you can get some t-shirts like Brian Morehouse, like Matt Snyder, like Zach Snyder, and some of the others out there who have bragged about getting their shirts. That will help us get into our 20th season as well. So buy a few t-shirts and wear them proudly. And we'll look forward to seeing you back here, not only for the podcast starting hopefully in April, but for our real shows when we get back on the air with video coming up in November. And with that, we bid you adieu. If you want to talk Division III basketball, you've got to watch Hoopsville, and we hope you've enjoyed this season in doing so. We'll catch you in November with the video show. In the meantime, we'll catch you in April with the podcast. Good night, everybody. Enjoy it. Take care, and we'll talk to you on the other side of the offseason.